Do you have any idea what their defense is going to be, given the fact that the judge has basically taken away their defense?
Am I the only person in the world talking about attacking the timeline, attacking the timeline, attacking the timeline, attacking the timeline?
Do you have any idea what their defense is going to be, given the fact that the judge has basically taken away their defense?
Taken away their defense.
Like, am I in crazy? 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 Like, am I in crazy?
Challenge the timeline of the murders.
Talking about attacking the timeline.
What's the strategy today? Winning.
Whose motherfucking hair is that?
What's the strategy today? Winning.
The consensus has been challenge the timeline of the murders. Challenge the timeline of the murders.
Bunches. Hi. How's everybody doing? Happy Friday. It's Friday. It's Friday. Remember that song when it came out and that poor girl started getting death threats because that song was so bad? How's everybody doing? Turkey. Bob's been telling us about the timeline. Whose motherfucking hair is that? No treats, but if things don't change, I'm going to be building the bonfire. Michael Osbrook, Professor Crank, Habeas God, once upon a time, told me that we were talking about the teamwork makes the dream work, how it takes a village to sometimes in post-conviction appellate habeas world, always. And Michael said, he's not a bomb thrower, but there's a place for bomb throwers. However, he is apparently soon to be a bonfire builder, which is like a soft launch into bomb thrower. So this is exciting news. Are we sure it's not Tuesday? No, we're not sure. How's everybody doing? Partying party. Fun. Rebecca Black's music now is a bop. Is that true? Is that true? Good for her, man. I love that. I love a glow up. I do. I never understood really what the problem was. What did you just say? I don't know, Ariel. I love you, though. Oh, hi, Post-Punk. Hi, Thomas. Michael's tired of the bullshit, and I'm here for it. Bonfire of the Vanities. So, trigger warning. This evening, we are going to be talking about DOC. We're going to be talking about Ricky Allen and his time in the DOC custody, which, of course, is a topic that is disturbing and distressing and infuriating. I want to just put that out there for everybody. I know last night's live was distressing and disturbing and infuriating also. So that's that. How's everybody feeling after? But, Steven, you just hold on, Steven. We're also going to crank, and talk about stuff. It's not going to all be doom and gloom. And I'm not going to play any fucking copyrighted major motion pictures. Certainly not going to play 13 uninterrupted minutes of one. So hopefully we'll be fine. But it's good to see everybody. Damn, alive and I can't stay. Skinny, what the hell, man? What are you doing? So I want to do something fun tonight. There was a period, well, it's not really fun, but it's important. There was a period of time when Mr. Richard Matthew Allen, innocent man, loving father, loving father and husband. If y'all knew what all the bullshit is, you'd be in the streets. I'm not trying to be sly and coin a tease. What you see is me about to blow every gasket I have. Bunches. We're going to teach Michael how to do the stanky leg and the fist bump, and he's going to be good and ready to bomb throw. Walla derangement syndrome. Supporting you, Queen. Thank you, Angel thinks she's the boss. Steve, Angel, and Devil. Michael trying to cause a riot. We do love Michael and we do love Steve. Thank you, everybody. Good suggestion. Fiend, I'll keep that in mind. We'll see how the live goes. Hi, Tatiana. I need to chime in and say I'm here to watch Michael go scorched earth. Yes, me too. Did you know that one time Michael got scolded for committing federal thwarts? We'll talk about that another time. There's a shoot on site order for Michael Osbrook in Allen County. Okay. All right. We love a good timeline here on R&M Productions. Crank Nation, the Kingdom of Crank. So I want to talk about thwarting the will of Congress is what he got. He got scolded for thwarting the will of Congress, running out the statute clock. Kathy, oh no, Kathy started already. Ron gave me the words. God damn it. Michael was a deeply embedded member of Move. I don't get that reference. Oh no. Mav, Vinny, maybe you can explain for us younger folk here on the live what that means. Spanked! He got scolded and spanked. Make sure you're not in top chat. Thwarting is the cool version of shanking. We're cranking and Kathy is shanking. Hello, Free Ricky Bay. I love you so much. For everybody who weathered that very depressing live with me last night, thank you all. I just feel nothing but rage right now. Can anyone relate? It could be the steroids I'm taking for my anaphylaxis. That could be part of it. How do you know about Move? I was arrested because of Move. Michael Osbrook, you were cuffed and shackled and arrested? Do you have a... Okay. If you have a mugshot, all I'm going to say is that would be badass. We're not going to go looking for it. But I would give you a kidney for a Michael Osbrook mugshot, and we would turn it into like a badass, like Osbrook is my homeboy, like federal something really cool. We're gonna collect all of our. No, never mind. We'll talk about that later. Michael, please write a book. Bad Boy Among Us. I had nightmares. I might have to start watching lives in the morning. Yeah. Put it on a t-shirt. Back in the 70s. Y'all. Amazing. I like where this is headed already. This will be a fun little, Michael, we're going to test your Delphi knowledge. Don't anybody tell him. If you know the answer, don't tell him. I already put it in the chat. Don't cheat, Michael. But, Michael, do you remember when Sir Kagan Anthony Klein of Wabash, Peru, Miami County, Indiana, do you remember when he first came into the picture, into the Delphi stratosphere, the Delphi nightmare? If not, that's okay. And while you think about it, not as quick as DB, we're going to just...
Keegan Klein!
I'll give you 30 seconds. Anyway, so I started thinking about something. You know, one of the things that Rick Allen said very astutely, as we already determined that he does not, says Michael, I do not remember. Long before my time and time's almost older than dirt. Fair enough. So Deebs is probably doing a burrito. Hopefully we'll see him soon. However, it's October 3rd. Keeg and Stein. You're right, Free Ricky. So while Rick Allen was being psychologically and physically tormented in DOC custody, where is that coming from? It's playing somewhere. Oh, it's on my I think. Am I going crazy? Where's that coming from? It is coming from my iPad. Oh my gosh, I thought I was haunted. I thought there were ghosts up in her. I do love a ghost story. So, anyway, as I was saying, regroup. While Rick was in DOC custody at Westville under the coercive, torturous mind control of Walla Walla Holla Monica, he was very astute. And this is the thing that a couple of people realized last night. I think this is why it was so terribly depressing and devastating, kind of walking through his timeline there. he had like a he was very cognizant of what was happening to him while he was there. Much like he called out, Tony Liggett and Steve Mullen during his first interrogation. He said, look, I know you want to, I'm not trying to question your integrity. I am. He said, I'm not trying to question your integrity, but I don't want to be the fall guy. I don't want to be anybody's fall guy. Wow, that was astute. And then he said again in his interview with Jerry, like, I don't care what you do to me. I'm not going to admit to something I didn't do. You're going to pay for this. You're going to pay for what you're doing to me, what you're doing to my wife, And Jerry Holman says, I'm not going to pay for this. You're going to pay for this, right? So he's very, very astute. He's aware of what's happening. He has like it's just like really, really scary. And it makes me feel super claustrophobic to even think about the fact that he knew what they were doing to him and he knew what was happening to him. And he's reporting it to his psychologist and to the guards and to his, family, and his wife and his mom are saying, yeah, they're messing with you. They're messing with you. Like, he knew it, but he couldn't do anything about it. He's a very smart guy. He's a very strong guy. They didn't like that very much about him. They didn't appreciate that about him. Jerome did revenge. This is true. So one of the things that Rick says while he's incarcerated, hold on one second, y'all. Sorry, I'm back. As I was saying, all right. One of the things that Rick said was, I'm just a piece in a game, right? He said, he's being targeted by investigators. He feels like he's being targeted by DOC staff, which of course we know he was. He didn't trust Dr. Walla. He didn't. He said, I never know what to say to you. I feel like you're going to write a book about me. Oh my God. And she said, Dr. Walla explained to Rick she can't do that because of ethics. Okay, Daffy Duck. So regardless of her ethics, Rick knew what was happening to him. He said, it's like it's not even about Abby and Libby anymore to them. I'm just a piece of a game. Can you imagine having that much awareness and like knowing what they're doing to you and like you're powerless to do anything about it? Does that just make anybody else but me just feel like the walls are closing in on me and I just want to like die? It just feels awful and terrifying. So yeah, that's Rick Allen. Astutely aware, entirely cognizant of what's going on. They're just trying to get me to confess. Just trying to get me to confess. And Walla's at your door every day with her acrylic nails, just tap, 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 tapping on the door. Just tapping on the door of your cell, doing a tippy tap. Hey, Rick, you want to come out today? You want to have a session today? He says, no. He says, you don't? You want to come off suicide watch or what? In and out of lucidity, with the knowledge that you're being played and fucked with, it makes my skin crawl. Ethics and Walla equals paradox. Ultimate betrayal. Folks, make the streams monetary worth for them. Thank you, Nick Starrow. Good to see you, my friend. If y'all are not subscribed already to our friend Nick, please go subscribe. His trial coverage is unmatched and also hilarious. He snarks just like us. He is definitely part of the crank kingdom. Oh, Julie Melvin in here somewhere. There she is. Hi, Julie Melvin. Hello. How are you, my love? Good to see you. It is terrifying. Hello, Simply Bell. You want to play? Tater tips and wallop. Nope, not doing that tonight. Hi, Sleuthy Goosey. So, having said that, let's talk about games. I want to talk about games because, as we know, everything in the Delphi case is a game. It's for sure not about justice, truth, finding, the killer or killers of Abby and Libby. It's certainly not about getting to the root or it's not about truth. So we already know that. I say more F-bombs than anybody, Nick. I don't know what that's about. I'm constantly dropping F-bombs. So, gamesmanship. Candyland is a good game. This is true. Can you hear me? I'm just messing with things over here. When do we think the focus shifted from finding the killer or killers of Abby and Libby through legitimate, good old-fashioned police work, boots on the ground, shoe leather, whatever the hell? When do you think it shifted from that to closing the case? Because we've talked about the timeline of, from the murders all the way up until present day. And I need to stop looking at chat. When they decided they needed to boot the FBI. This is a good thought. That was 2021? When Nick showed up. This is also true. When Nick got into office. Wow, so that was fast then. So it literally went, this is a good thought too. So it literally, so I can identify like a couple shifts that I think of. So for starters, there was a really early on shift, which was the very first press conference on February 22nd, 2017, which is when the FBI established the Orion database and their tip line, right? So I do think that kind of, I don't know what they were doing before that. And that's apparently when the Rick Allen tip was, Dan Doolin talked to Rick Allen before that. So whatever, regardless. We know that the 70 days of interviews were messed up. There was a huge shift with Nick McClellan coming in and the FBI being booted. Very true. There was also a significant event that happened on February 25th, 2017. And I don't necessarily like to talk about the Kagan Klein angle, not because I don't think it's important or relevant, but because it frustrates me. I don't necessarily see the Dropbox. Don't shoot the messenger, y'all. We have some Dropbox, what's it called? Loyal Dropbox theorists in here, and I support that, and I love that, and I'm open to evidence. However, I don't necessarily subscribe to the Dropbox theory in terms of the Libby and Abby investigation. Not saying it doesn't have to do with Keegan Klein or ISP. I just mean in terms of Abby and Libby, I don't really see that being relevant, or I think we would have heard about it by now. Having said that, I was going to say Fanatic. Yeah, I changed my mind. Thank you, Luke. I do think that Keegan is worth discussing because there sure were some games played with Keegan Klein and that angle of the investigation, were there not? So February 25th, 2017, something happened. And I wish that we had the documents from the original raid of Kagan's home, but we don't. All we have is David Vito, the weasel himself. David Vito's not a weasel. I don't remember what David Vito is. I just know I got banned from Twitter temporarily for saying that if David Vito came at me and tried to buccal swab my mouth, I'd bite his fucking little grubby fingers off. Anyway, I digress. Let's look at this probable cause affidavit for a second, because there's something that I want to call attention to. So this is the probable cause affidavit filed August 19th, 2020. Someone remember that date, or maybe I could write it down somewhere. I'll put it somewhere. So I, Trooper David Vito of the Indiana State Police, being first duly sworn upon oath, says that on February 25th, 2017, the County of Miami and in the state of Indiana at this address, whatever. So this is weird because why is he citing February 25th, 2017 when this is a retroactive PCA? So he's writing this PCA in August 2020. So it's weird how he kind of opens his PCA. It feels a little dishonest. I don't know. It's just weird. Anyway, moving on. David Vito says that on February 25th, 2017, ISP and the FBI executed a search warrant at Kagan and Tony Klein's home. While working ISP case, this is the Delphi case redacted, the FBI sent information to the ISP cybercrime unit that an adult male was soliciting female juveniles, utilizing social media platforms. So remember, the FBI came in February 22nd, really, like, for the most part. This is true. They left the door open. Worst case scenario for anyone, they would make the patsy if things got so bad they needed to close the case. Rick and a few others were on back burner. 100%, Julie. Totally. 100%. Which is a theory that, you know, a year or two ago we would have just heard a lot of things about how crazy and conspiratorial that is, but it certainly seems like that's what happened. So the FBI sends information to ISP Cybercrimes about an adult male soliciting female juveniles using social media platforms, Snapchat and Instagram. He was using the username Anthony Schatz. Now, this is another part that is important. One of the things that came up at the trial of Rick Allen is that the brilliant Delphi Unified Cabal Task Force never thought to subpoena Snapchat directly. So the photo of Abby on the bridge, supposedly on February 13th at 2:07 p.m., right before the bridge guy video, they can't locate it because it's not on the phone. It's not on the phone anywhere. It's not in the Snapchat cache on the phone. And they never subpoenaed the actual company itself. So that's weird. But the FBI and ISP ICAC Cybercrimes did subpoena Instagram and Snapchat for the Anthony Schatz accounts. That's significant to me. I think if their whole reason for honing in on Kagan Klein in 2020 and 2021 and 2022, if their whole reason for doing that was because he supposedly was communicating with Libby, right before the murders, I would just assume that evidence of that communication would be found on the apps that he was using to communicate with her, right? I mean, it could be elsewhere, but that's interesting. It's a great question, Judgy, because they're idiots. So the FBI and Cybercrime ISP subpoena Instagram and Snapchat. They get the IP address for the account. They get a subpoena associated with it. They return to the address that belongs to Kagan. They find the registration dates, July 2016. So at 12:30 p.m., they execute a search warrant at Kagan Klein's house. ISP, FBI, and the Peru Police Department. Notice who's not present here. Carroll County. There's a couple of reasons I can think of as to why Carroll County wouldn't be present here. It could have been one of the parallel investigations that the FBI was conducting on their own, much like they did with Ron Logan. It could have been because this redacted ISP case number is not the Delphi case at all. I went down a rabbit hole of the Buster Hernandez, Brian Kill case, which was actually being investigated very, very heavily and kind of moving very quickly around this time in 2017. If anyone is not familiar with the Buster Hernandez Brian Kill case. This was a like 26-year-old fucking dude in California that was basically targeting teenage girls in Indiana, actually, and maybe a couple other states, but certainly in Indiana, and calling it bomb threats and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll go down that rabbit hole another day. But that's another reason I can think of that perhaps Carroll County was not even involved in this search. But I tend to believe that ISP was just kind of acting on Carroll County's behalf at this time. I don't know, though, because another thing that's interesting is that ISP Sergeant Kunstek, have we seen this name before? Does anyone recognize this name? This is a cybercrime unit, I imagine, investigator. Special Agent Willman. I think that Vito spells his name wrong here, but Special Agent Willem, whatever. If you go into like Pacer or whatever, and you just look up his name, he is like all over some pretty high profile Indiana cases. I believe he assisted in like the Jared Fogle case, and he works with Nicole Robertson, who authored one of the Ron Logan search warrants. She also works very closely with like cybercrime unit, ISP. All of this to say, these are not like dumb idiot investigators like what we see in Carroll County. They tend to know what they're doing. I mean, look what they did after all. They knew to subpoena the apps that were suspicious. So there's something already doing things that Carroll County didn't think they needed to do for whatever reason. So Kagan has read his rights. He agrees to speak with them. During his interview, he denies, I didn't make it. Okay, I did make the accounts, blah, blah, blah. I'm soliciting, nude photos. I think the girls are this old, however old, blah, blah, blah. During the interview, Kagan said he was fucked and he should have left. He packed another bag and took it to Vegas. They returned that very day. So after Kagan's interview, he was polygraphed at the ISP Peru State Police Post by Sergeant Matthew Collins. He was polygraphed about this incident and case, and again, Delphi murder case. So we're told. Okay. So he takes a polygraph examination, which is something I forgot about. Kagan again admitted to creating the accounts. He also communicated this to the girls who were sending pictures. His polygraph questions were based on case, whatever. It was concluded at 7:30 and he was taken back home. Okay, cool. David Vito comes in 2020. They don't arrest Kagan for anything at the time, which we have a lot of thoughts I know about that. I can't in a million billion years understand or justify why they wouldn't have, given what they found on his phone. But he takes his polygraph and goes back home. They get a bunch of devices. Kagan calls them 2 days later. He's like, you forgot my iPhone 5C. Yep, they let him victimize more girls so that they could keep him on the back burner for the homicides. Yup. So April 24th, 2020. Everybody... So, okay. The New Direction press conference was April 22nd, 2019, right? Or something around that. April 22nd, 2019. A year later, they bring in David Vito, and he is assigned lead investigator for this case. I believe it means he was assigned lead investigator for this lead. They had not closed the book on Kagan. And when I say they, I'm referring to the Delphi investigation. They had not closed the book on Kagan. They were, like Julie so astutely said, saving some, options for the back burner. So that's interesting. The interview transcript, I was going to pull it up and read it. It's so disturbing. I don't want to. I think we can summarize it by saying U.S. Marshal, what's his name? Clinton, Deputy Clinton with the U.S. Marshal's office, and David Vito, I think, are the two that interview Kegan Kline, and they lied to him throughout that entire interview, in my opinion. Which is interesting because that is one of the favorite strategies of the Delphi murder unified cabal investigators. They like to lie, and they like to do a read unto people. And I guess that's what they were trying to do during that interview with Kegan. It's on Reddit. It's out there. It exists. It lives. If anyone wants to like go back and revisit it. I started to, and I'm like, I just don't think there's anything even worth really rehashing specifically in it, because most of what occurs in that interview is an outright, just total fucking lie. Oops. There was one clip I wanted to play. I hope Barbara, don't strike me, girlfriend. You look so cute tonight. Don't strike me. Sister girlfriend. Barbara won't strike me. Maybe she will. I hope she doesn't. They lie a lot. Yep. My friend in middle school didn't have a door on his family microwave and it still worked. What? Oh my God. Vito told me personally that he was the person watching the interactions and listening to calls between Kegan's and others that called him, including reading letters to him, but not letters Kegan sent. Why? Like, they're so silly. Why wouldn't you read letters he's sending? Imagine if Kegan had worn sweatpants that day. He would have been arrested and charged with the murders, 100%. Now we're getting to the root of what I think is going on. Hey, Jake Snyder. Here we go. Ready?
7 days after the murders of Abby and Libby, task force investigators served a search warrant on the home that Kegan shared with his dad. At the time, the FBI told the Lafayette Journal and Courier they found nothing to indicate a connection to the Delphi case. Kegan's electronics were confiscated then, but he wasn't arrested until 3 years later. He's now facing 30 counts of child pornography and child solicitation in Miami County, Indiana, unrelated to the Delphi murders. He says, though, that Indiana State Police told him Anthony Schatz had been communicating with Libby before her murder. So why do you think investigators are putting so much focus on you right now?
I have not a clue.
Let's do a pause so I don't get clapped. So this interview that Barbara is doing with Kegan is around December 2021, right after the Jeremy Pierce with his big oversized hat sits in front of his ISP fitted bed sheet and says, "We're looking into a profile, Anthony Schatz. Here's all these pictures of this dude that's not even related, whose photos were stolen. Let's blast them all over the internet. And if you know anything about it, call us." In connection to the Delphi murder investigation. In connection, right? This is how they shake their leads loose. They just do stuff and say stuff and throw stuff out. Jerry Pierce. So again, this is December 2021. Barbara is interviewing Kegan in his jail cell. At this point in time, when ISP releases the Kegan Kline, or I guess Wish TV Demi Johnson, good friend of certain podcasters, and one Jerome Holman, family friend, Demi Johnson is the one who releases the Kegan Kline probable cause affidavit, and ISP the very night or the night before releases the Anthony Schatz info. At that time, Kegan had been in jail for a year. They arrested this motherfucker in August 2020, and they didn't come out with the probable cause affidavit from his arrest or the Anthony Schatz info till December 2021. Over a year. What were they doing for the entirety of 2020 and 2021 while he was in jail? I don't know. But he sat in jail for a year before they decided, let's see how this shakes out, right? So listen to what Barbara asks him here.
So much focus on you right now. Investigators are putting so much focus on you right now.
I have not a clue. I think it's because they said I was the last person to talk to her. is what they've told me.
And then she shows up at the bridge and they're abducted and later found dead.
I think it's because they said that I was the last person to talk to her. That's what they told me. Right?
Right.
And that was not you.
No, 100% not.
Keegan says he has no memory or knowledge of communicating with Libby, and investigators haven't confirmed if what he says is true.
Investigators had his Snapchat and his Instagram subpoena returns. We also didn't hear any specific evidence during Richard Allen's trial or really anything in association with like the Delphi murder specifically. We never heard any specifics about Libby and Anthony Schatz and the girls being lured to the trails. The only thing I could find that even mentions or suggests that Anthony Schatz lured Abby and Libby, or Libby, to the trails, or was even the last person to speak with Libby, or even spoke with her, period, is in that interview with Clinton, Vito, and Kagan doing a read unto him when they arrested him in 2020. So as I sit here today, am not convinced that Anthony Schatz / Kagan Klein ever really communicated with Libby. If he did, I do believe that they probably like maybe messaged a little, but I don't think that appears anywhere except for in the interview when they're trying to get Kagan to confess. They say, "We know you're the last person to talk to her." And listen to me. Where is it? Why haven't I seen it? Why haven't we seen it? It should be in the search warrant. Yeah, the FBI says we don't have any evidence to indicate at all. Kagan Klein was a back burner patsy. I think that I'm open to evidence. I want to see it, though. I want to see it. And whether or not Kagan lured the girls or whatever, the reality is investigators were all but certain that they were going to arrest him or that he was going to lead to we have no evidence of it. We have none. And yeah, he can factory reset his phone, but we're not talking David Vito and Cecil. We're talking the FBI and the cybercrime unit subpoenaed his Instagram and Snapchat data before he even knew that they were like onto him. So they didn't wait, they didn't do what ISP did and Carroll County did, where they're just like, oh, we'll look for the phone. It's like the FBI says we don't have any evidence indicated, okay? Let's just take the FBI at their word for a second. Oh my gosh, you guys are so... I know. This. I already said when I opened this live, there's people that are not going to like the Kagan Klein suggestion I'm making, but I just want us to lean in for a second because it's not even really relevant to Kagan, so like, go with me. He had a subpoenas. Yeah, he uninstalled it off one phone and Vito's like, oh no, it's gone. But regardless, the FBI and ISP had his Snapchat and Instagram data, all of it. That's how they got his Comcast and his IP address and his address. So they had it. In 2017, they subpoenaed it on February 25th, 2017. So let's go back to, I know that this is, again, whether or not Kagan is involved in the murders doesn't even fucking matter because that's not really the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that investigators lie and they play games and they have all of these different, like, they just throw out these wide nets and they hone in on something or someone and they basically make it fit. They shove and they push and they force and they bully and they coerce and they read and they manipulate the public and they use the media and they use podcasters and they use state actors and they use all kinds of tactics that are illegal and unethical and not conducive to the truth, to finding the truth. They do all of those things hoping to just, something's just going to pop out of the woodwork one day and it's just going to solve itself. And that's just not how it works. On Friday, June 12, 2020, Vito received the digital forensic examination from ISP Sergeant Chris Cecil. I reviewed it. And then I met multiple law enforcement officials, met with the Miami County prosecutor to discuss the investigation. So he goes through all the disgusting, horrible stuff on the phone. No, your conspiracy's fine. They do a torture. They just hope for a confession so that they don't actually care one way or another. The truth of the matter is just kind of irrelevant. What do they care whether there's more people involved, right? Because at the beginning, they were telling us that there's strong evidence to support, or we have reason to believe that Richard Allen's not the only person involved. Whoa, okay. So, oops, that's what I wanted. So he goes through all his devices. By the way, David Vito is a creepy motherfucker. Like, I don't like that guy at all. Anyway, he's deleting stuff. Okay. On February 25th, 2017, Kagan's polygraph was concluded and he was transported back to his residence. The digital forensics exam report shows that at 9:19, he deletes and uninstalls all of his apps, okay? So they have all of this. They have this. Okay? On the 26th, the user uninstalled and deleted MeetMe. He admitted to using these applications to chat with them. He put Snapchat back on his phone on the 27th. Big dumb idiot. And then he uninstalled it again. This is weird too. Okay, so this is all from 2017. And then law enforcement officers observed Kagan staying at his girlfriend's apartment on August 14th and 15th, 2020, located at address. Due to the aforementioned probable cause, I'm requesting this investigation be reviewed for consideration of charges. What's the statute? I guess he was continuing to offend, maybe? Like, they're like, okay, we want to reopen this. And we want to arrest him and we want to get him in a room and we want to interview him and we want to shake him up a little bit. We want to tip him over and see what falls out. So they arrested Kagan and they interviewed him on August 20th, 2020. So that's just something that I want to put on the back burner for now, because the timeline, we're attacking the timeline tonight. So we have watched the meetings where Nikki McClinton goes before the Carroll Council and says, I need money to prosecute this case. Meh. He also says, what else does he say in this meeting? So here's what we're going to do. We're not going to watch it. We've watched it so many times. Or at least we're not going to really watch it. But I do want to go through the dates because I got questions for this motherfucker. So starting at the beginning, we've got, what's this? July 20th, 2020, right? July 20th, 2020. What date did we just say the Kagan Klein? I love when things just start to make sense. What did I just say that date was? I didn't even plan this. It just kind of happened, huh? I said, wait a minute. I wonder if there's any coinciding, I wonder if anything coincides. Bum, 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 bum. Isn't it crazy that On April 24th, 2020, David Vito is assigned the lead investigator for the Kagan Klein lead. And then on Friday, June 12th, he gets the digital forensics examination from ISP Sergeant Cecil back. And then on Thursday, June 18th, multiple law enforcement agency officials meet with the Miami County prosecutor to discuss the investigation. And then 2 days later, Nick McClellan is before the council asking for a new location for the Delphi, Abby and Libby investigation. Two days later, we need to do a timeline. Ugh, we gotta do it, y'all. Wow. February 25th, 2017. 2017. FBI ISP raid Kagan Klein home in Peru, Indiana, right? We're going to go back over it, Belle. I know I went super fast. Also, I learned how to do a thing the other day. And I want to do it. Look, I can make the entire page black. And then it's dark mode. I just have to make, oops. No, dark mode. Look at me go. All right. For Indiana. Cool. All right. And then not until April 24th. What did that say? April 24th, 2020, right? All right. Mm-hmm. And then what did we say? June 12th, 2020. And then June 18th. Multiple law enforcement officials met with the Miami County prosecutor. And I like that he doesn't say who. Prosecutor to discuss this investigation. Fresh couch blankie out the dryer, ready to get sucked in. And then June 20th, 2020, Nick McClellan goes before county commissioners to discuss Barbie Dream House. When did Steve Mullen become the y'all? Y'all. On January 7th, 2020, Delphi Chief of Police Steve Mullen will begin his job. Okay. Wow. All right, January 7th, 2020. Let's go back up here to accept position as prosecutor's investigator. All right, let's add this just for fun. Just for fun. They took the saying getting the gang back together too literally, right? Okay. Interesting. I don't see anything too crazy yet. Do y'all? So Steve Mullen becomes prosecutor's investigator. Not a whole lot happened in 2019, right? We had the new direction. And that's pretty much it. When did Chadwell come out? Not till 2020 or 2021, right? 2020. I'm gonna ruin the tool. I forgot about that. Okay. So David Vito gets put on the Kagan Klein investigation like a dog on a bone. I don't know what he's doing for 3 months or 2 months, but he gets Cecil's report back, and then on the goes through it for 6 days, and then multiple law enforcement officials meet with the Miami County prosecutor to discuss the investigation. And then 2021, thank you, Bree. Okay. The Click 3 is still investigating. I literally have no idea what Carroll County ever did. Nothing, it would seem. Let's see what Nick has to say. I said I wasn't going to play this, but now I feel like I want to know. Because remember, Nick was in that meeting, right? I feel like that's a fair assumption. Nick McClellan, the prosecutor of Carroll County, who's the prosecutor over the Delphi murder investigation, which Vito is investigating this Kagan Klein angle through that investigation. Like, I would assume that Nick McClellan would have been at least privy to, if not included in that meeting on the 18th with the Miami County Sinkovitz, right? Is that his name? Prosecutor? So they meet. 48 hours later, Nick is asking the council for money or the commissioners for money.
And I kind of took it upon myself to explore some of those options. It's difficult to manage an office and be in court all the time. It makes it 10 times more difficult when half my office is on the first floor, half my office on the second floor. It just makes it tough. So I'd really like to get us all under one roof. And when I say us, I mean my whole office under one roof. And so I had a contractor come in, and look at the museum because it just kind of open space. And then Steve Mullins and I, we kind of put together a plan of what we would like it to look like. Had a contractor come, Steve Mullins and I, we kind of put together a plan of what we would like it to look like. And then Steve Mullins and I, we kind of put together a plan.
His name's not Mullins, it's Mullen. Nick will die before he gets his lead investigator's name correct.
Of what we would like it to look like. The other half of this is that the city has been generous enough to give us the second floor of the city building for the Abby Libby investigation. They give us a whole room, we have it under lock and key, and that is just a gentleman's agreement that they've given us.
And he contacted me after the newspaper and said we're good to go. So.
And that's beautiful, but that also can end at any minute.
Right.
And,
They're keeping the Abby and Libby case files and evidence, the hard evidence, the filing cabinets are just in a room in the city council building.
I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm always thinking about 2 steps ahead. And so it would.
We know, motherfucker.
It would also be nice to have that investigation under my roof. one, to manage the evidence that's there, to have that under secure lock and key, which is under lock and key there, but it sure would be nice.
This is when the insulation really started to get weird. They're starting to basically insulate their investigation and their evidence, and they are basically, what is it, battening down the hatches? Did I say that right? And getting ready to close this case by whatever means necessary.
Nice to have it under
my roof.
So
I hate how he talks.
I kind of looked at the museum, and
Remember, they don't have a bathroom. They don't have a bathroom. And what a lizard! You never hear. What a lizard! You didn't even no punctuation in that chat. Just what a lizard! You never urinate. Ooh, okay. It's because Mullen is the destroyer. Where's the sticks, Nick? Somebody has never been in a storm. Destroyed the evidence. Battening down the hatches. All right.
just dead space, like to use it for some benefit. And so Steve Mullins and I kind of drew up some plans of what
Mullins, his name is not Steve Mullins. It's Mullen. He's been his investigator for 6 months at this point, and he's still calling him Mullins.
But the bathroom is not a necessity. Everything else, I think, is a necessity.
Oh, God, Steve Mullins.
We'd have a lobby. We'd have the 4D office, which is child support, probably the prosecutor's office. One
You know
for
something about
Marie
that,
and
right?
one for the attorney there. We would have our room for the investigator and the secretaries. We'd have a conference room, which would be the Abby and Libby investigation room.
Oh, the war room?
We would have 2 interview rooms, which would assist us in, when we resolve cases, a lot of the drug cases, we ask for a cleanup statement, right? Who else you've been talking to, who else you've been dealing with, those.
A cleanup statement? They sure do clean up.
Kind of things. Those things got to be taped, right? And so it'd be nice to have 2 interview rooms. Right now, we're using the interview room at the city. Again, they're gracious enough to let us use that, but they don't have to. And then, of course, myself, chief deputy. And so this will fit in the space down there. Now, cost is probably the big question, and I don't know, right? We can't.
I don't know, he says. What a spoiled little bitch. He goes, now the cost, I know you guys are going to ask me the cost. I don't know. It's like, that's not really my thing. I just do the design and the cell.
The intention is not to build walls to the ceiling because we don't want to mess with the architectural integrity of the museum.
Every time Nick says integrity, y'all who imbibe, take a drink. Just in general, anytime the word integrity comes out of his mouth.
It has historical value. We don't want to do that. So we have to put, you can imagine, a roof on these things. Because
A what?
My office, so we have to put, you can imagine, a roof on these things. Because at least my office.
Where does he think he's from? Who says rough? Rough? Motherfucker, you're from Indiana and you went to school in Ohio. Why are you saying rough? A rough?
The chief deputies have to be somewhat confidential, plus the 2 interview rooms. So we would have roofs, if you will, on those portions.
Oh my God, he's doing it on
So I have
purpose,
no
right?
idea what the cost. We would have roofs, if you will, on those
You don't, Ariel, don't. Don't. I don't want to hear that.
portions. And so I have no idea what the costs are going to be. I'm still assessing that. But
Every time he says roof, I'm just going to hear woof now. Cubicles with cardboard on top, like a playboy.
this is the tentative plan.
This is just for my own information. You school is certified today by the Abby Libby, about the 4 little girls. Boy.
Can I say something unpopular? No, never mind. No. Bill Brown, I have beef with Bill Brown because I believe Bill Brown cares actually a lot about the Flora girls. He's the only motherfucker to ever bring up the Flora girls ever in council meetings. He brings them up pretty much every time Abby and Libby are mentioned. He brings them up, and I do believe that he really is just absolutely bothered by that case and the way it's been handled. He makes suggestions, but much like other pussyfoot motherfuckers who basically implement half of a plan and are all talk and no action, when it comes down to it, Keith says he's about to get arrested for forging something then. When it comes down to it, he never follows through. He always yields and he always votes with the majority, with his peers and counterparts. So it's almost more annoying because he obviously knows better, because he brings things up and he raises good points and he takes issue with things they're doing that are wrong, but then he'll just vote with the status quo. So anyway, but I do at least appreciate he asks this question a lot.
That too. That is ongoing. That is with the state police, and so they have that investigation stuff in their headquarters. And so I'm not discounting that investigation. We just don't have to house the evidence for that because state police is taking that over. They're housing the evidence.
Are they housing the evidence, or did they also destroy the majority of the Flora evidence? Because they did.
So that investigation is no less important. It's just we don't have the evidence problem with that investigation. The state police has that. So we have the evidence problem with Abby and Libby because it's still a Carroll County Sheriff's Department investigation.
The Abby and Libby. We have the Abby and Libby.
And there are boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of evidence for that.
Boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes of evidence. Interesting. In bankers' boxes, would you say?
As you guys can imagine.
Oh, I'm sure.
So
You can probably fill that room up over there.
absolutely. That's at the city building right now. This is kind of getting down the weeds. We're moving in electronically because we think that's better use of space and everything. But yes, right now it's at the city building. So
This is impressive.
well,
What's impressive? What is impressive? It's literally just a design of a building with no specifics, no budget, no cost, no nothing. It's impressive. What's impressive? What is impressive?
Steve is the architect behind this. I kind of told him what I wanted. He set it up and he has the program. So he's been a huge help.
What is Steve's program? What do we think Steve uses for his program? What is Steve? Steve's the architect.
But let me give you some estimates and let's see where we're at. I don't know if we're at 10,000. I don't know if we're at 90,000. I just don't know.
See, what we have is
It's either 10 or 90 grand.
back for the acoustics are terrible. I wish you would.
Oh, it's horrible.
A lot of this.
When we had the press conference, it's just horrible. It's terrible. It's horrible. But we wouldn't be using it for that purpose, right? We would just that.
Imagine basing the space that you select for your prosecutor's office and your investigation space. Imagine basing that off of the acoustics at your once annual press conference for the murder you can't solve. Well, the acoustics suck, so that's not going to work because next year, we want to have a better. What? What are they doing?
Acoustics are good for us, right? We don't want sound to travel when we're talking about stuff, and so that is a plus for us. And so, yeah,
What?
it is horrible. It's horrible.
What are they saying? What do you mean?
Thank you. Check out.
The acoustics? Sorry.
Do you want to get the numbers?
Yeah.
Numbers on it?
Get us some numbers.
I'm working on that. I had one person come look at it. It's difficult to get people in here right now with the situation we're in. Okay, all right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. What we'd like to do is
All right. Fast forward a year. This hair's coming nicely, right? So a year later, what is this one for?
transfer monies
Transfer
to where we,
monies.
from that line on where we need it. Witness fees and transcripts. We're having a lot more. We have a lot more. We're gonna.
So, okay. Pause. June 20th, 2020. All right. Now we are at May 20th, 2021. Nick goes before county council. And requests additional funding for, I don't remember what specifically. He's asking for here, but
Part of it's because of COVID backup. Part of it is just because a lot of people aren't pleading guilty like they used to. And so with that comes more depositions, transcripts, preparation for trial. So we have we're gonna have a lot more trials this year. Part of it's because of COVID backup. Part of it is just because a lot of people aren't pleading guilty like they used to. And so with that comes more depositions.
a lot of people aren't pleading guilty like they used to. Keith, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? What the actual fuck?
Positions, get these to where from that line on to where we need it. Witness fees and transcripts, we're having we're gonna have a lot more trials this year. Part of it's because of COVID backup. Part of it is just because a lot of people aren't pleading guilty like they used to. And so with that comes more depositions, transcripts, preparation for trial. And so we need additional fees there and witness fees to get witnesses to come and testify at trial. The next one is then fuel and maintenance for Steve's vehicle. $500 transfer for that. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transfers we'd like to use from the clerical assistant line item over to those various line items. Oh, right. My chief deputy reminded me, we don't want those to come effective until June 28th of 21. That pay cycle.
I have one question for you, Nick.
Sure.
Why today? Or why now, not the budget cycle?
Well,
That is an excellent question. Girlfriend's in Vegas for a work trip this week, so it's back to liking every post Yellow Jacket has ever made in a video. Nice, Keith. We love that. We love it. The council, I believe that was... Fuck, who asked that question? Who's the little... It'll come to me.
Approved it for Carroll Superior Circuit, so I figured why not now? You did it for the middle for them, so I assume now is just a good time as any.
We did it for them because we were trying to get it done for 2.5 years. So that's why we approached it on the mid-year cycle, because we had to make a big swing and there's material changes to everything.
You've been trying to get it done for
2.5 years.
Okay. To my knowledge, is the first they had asked for the pay increase.
Ew. Did y'all see that? Fucking fake, like, you've been trying to get it done for 2 years? Because this is the first time I've ever seen. Bleh. I'm gonna watch it. We're gonna take that again. It's gonna make me sick.
We did it for them because we were trying to get it done for 2.5 years. So that's why we approached it on the mid-year cycle, because we had to make a big swing and there's material changes to everything.
You've been trying to get it done for
2.5 years.
Okay. To my knowledge, is the first they had asked for the pay increase.
We don't know yet. Well, they completely changed their whole thing, and we've been trying to get that done for 2.5 years.
I guess if that's the mentality, I mean, I've been trying to get pay increases for my people for that long too, for as long as I've been here. And so, again, I don't understand why the difference in pay is there anyways. They do the same jobs. Arguably, we do more than they do, because like I said, the hopper gets filled in our office.
I swear to God, every time we don't have to watch this whole thing. I just wanted to get the date, but I swear to God, every time I hear him, the audacity just is more astounding to me. So, all right, he's asking for money. Cell phones for the Mullinator. Okay, now we're at July. Okay, he's back in July asking for more shit. Right.
We knew it was coming.
July 4th.
Yeah. I was looking back, every year for like ever, it's been $1,000, and then the prosecutor's taking the rest out of his prosecutor or the
Version.
diversion.
Mhm.
Why are we not looking there this year?
Well, diversion not really made for that, one. The second part is, if you also look, you cut my diversion at $29,000, where the past has been 60 and above, and so we're out of money in line item for office supplies and diversion. But really not what diversion is for. It's not really supplement the county to fund the office. It's not really what it's for. But
Is there somewhere else in the version?
again, if I pull it from police, there are the line items, police equipment, it doesn't fit in the line items. So we have to transfer among the line items, I suppose. But again, it's not really what the version's for. It's not to.
Why are $1,000?
We knew it was coming.
I'm looking. Yeah. I was looking back, every year for like ever, it's been $1,000, and then the prosecutor's taking the rest out of his prosecutor or the
Version.
diversion.
Mhm.
Why are we not looking there this year?
Well, diversion not really made for that, one. The second part is, if you also look, you cut my diversion at $29,000, where the past has been 60 and above, and so we're out of money in line item for office supplies and diversion. But really not what diversion is for. It's not really supplementing county to fund the office. It's not really what it's for. And so if we've used it because we don't have any other choice, because we're out of money in office supplies. But
Is there somewhere else in the version?
again, if I pull it from police, there are the line items, police equipment, it doesn't fit in the line items. So we have to transfer among the line items, I suppose. But again, it's not really what the version's for. It's not to, the version's not made to supplement the county so they don't have to fund the office.
That's a much broader discussion. If we put on the agenda today, the diversion. So we have a motion on the floor. It's always been done that way. I mean, it's been done by you that way since you've been here. Correct.
No, only to supplement when we
Right.
can't get funding from the budget. Right.
You have
Or
spent
funding from the council. We have, yes. Again, it's not really what it's for. It's for other things, but, you know, I don't know. It's the county's responsibility to fund the office so we can run the office. And this stuff is just for paper to send out victim notices, pens, just regular office supplies, file folders. It's not for any kind of luxury item. It's just things that we need to run the day-to-day function of the office that we're required to by statute. They send victim notice to do these things. So that's what the funding's for the additions.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the $2,500 additional on the floor. I hear Tracy said that. For this one, I would prefer to do a transfer because that's what we have traditionally done. I would also encourage the discussion about what funds for the future. But I also take exception to what he said. We cut funding for it. It's just the appropriation line. We can always move the funding of those lines.
But you cut the whole diversion, is what I'm saying. You cut the whole budget for the diversion by half.
Cutting the budget doesn't mean that that's all it's appropriate.
That's all I can spend out of it for the year.
Right, but we can also do additional transfers. So I mean, we just match the diversion to the expected revenue.
Kind of.
Well,
because it has a supplement at the beginning of the year. So you match it only for the revenue that's brought in per year, not what's built up in years past to get to start.
Right. So if you wanted to spend, and that's how we do every department, every budget. We budget the amount that they bring in. If they have surpluses that are existing in the funds and they want to use those, then we do those items. So that's the thought process. So, and I apologize. We're back to the motion. Is there any further discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor of the approving the additional $2,500 for office supplies? Aye. Aye. 3 ayes. Nay. Nay. So motion fails for lack of. Do you have your budget with you? Do you have a line to transfer from the budget for us tomorrow?
I think it's gonna cost greater, I mean, I decided to spend out of diversion. I'm not gonna fund my office for supplies out of diversion. And so now we come into the problem where, how am I gonna be in compliance with Indiana code if the county's not willing to fund the office?
So you're unwilling to spend anything on?
I've spent a ton already on office supplies. I'm asking for a bare minimum to get us by for just folders, paper, what the county's required to do. And I don't understand why that's not a reasonable request to get us by. I mean, that's what I don't understand.
So to get you through today, some of an urgent matter. Do you want to play a game of brinksmanship on this, or do you really not want to transfer? Because
No, it's all right.
the motion is failed. So
That's fine. That's fine. And I guess we'll have to adjust and see what happens next. I don't know. We've got to send out victim notices. We need paper for the copier, and I'm not sure how we're going to address that. So we'll have to go back to my office and figure it out and adjust accordingly. I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm not getting support of the council for the office, but I appreciate it, I guess.
You're not getting support. It's just the words.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Hume Bridge. Now it's $210,000. Is there a motion?
Motion.
I just texted.
Oh, you did?
I didn't know if you were in corner or anything.
Must be, that's okay. I told my head that's going on, so.
Okay. Nick, I'd like to say you did a really good job of explaining why you want what you want. Very good.
Well, I'm gonna exchange most of that.
Oh, very good.
I don't have too much else to say. I don't want to waste you guys' time, so whatever questions you may have, I'll try to answer them as best I can. There were some changes made by Beth, but I think that's just the way they have to go listed in the budget.
I didn't change any of the figures.
Right, none of the figures, just, right, what line item they're out of or what have you.
So what is kind of like the bigger argument that we normally recall us having about, you think you should be able to spend it, and we say, no.
Well, so what I think the big argument for me last year was that the State Board of Accounts said you can't budget any more than $30,000 in that account. That's all you brought in for the year before. Where my argument was, yes, that's all we brought in the year before, but we started the year with monies in there already. We started the year with, I think, 25,000 in there. So really, if you include what I bring in for the year plus what we had in from the carryover year, it was about 50 or 60,000 that I could have spent. But I was only allotted what we were to bring in for that year. So I think I was only allotted for this year for 29,000, even though we started the year with, I think, 25,000. And so then I brought in, and so we've got 50,000 essentially in there, but we can't spend 20,000 of it. We have to ask for an additional, right, sorry. We have to ask for an additional, which was, and it was just kind of a pain to do when we're doing everything else, but advertising took a while and just have new arrests, new tickets issued, new things issued. And so it's just going to be a really hectic 2022 year with all those cases going on. We have the first murder trial starting October 18th, and we have 2 more after that. We do use it for when the officers, they want to do training. Like we did a training this year. We did a multi-county training for the Reed School, which is a school that teaches officers how to question suspects and witnesses effectively. And stuff like when we have to back up our files, a lot of stuff electronic now. And so we have to back those up to make sure we don't lose those. And so we can pay for that out of there too. So wide category. You got to pay them for their time, unfortunately. So.
And Nick, I have a question for you.
Sure. So they're fine now. And so we have to back those up to make sure we don't lose those. And so we can pay for that out of there too. So white category, we got to pay our files, a lot of stuff electronic now. And so we have to back those up to make sure we don't lose those. And so we
got a what? We got a what now? We got to back those up to make sure we don't what? I need to go back? Okay. Where should I go back to? The reads? Reads. Back to the reads, y'all. How far back should I go? A couple minutes?
file and just, right, sorry. And so then I was only, when I bring, for my argument, the argument for me last year, right, just the way they have justice said. I told my motion, and they're already.
Oh, him for me?
I appreciate it, I guess. Go back to my office and figure it out and adjust accordingly. I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm not getting support of the council for the office, but I appreciate it, I guess.
Okay. It's just the credit.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Hume Bridge, now at $210,000. Is there a motion?
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Hume Bridge, now at $210,000.
When he's begging for office supply money, he's like, I guess I'll kill myself then. I guess I don't know, basically.
Okay.
It's just the credit.
Look at his face. Ooh, I want to punch him.
It's just the credit.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Hume Bridge, now at
Look.
$210,000. Is there a motion?
Motion.
I just texted.
I'm not going to make us rewatch all of this, but I do want to add this date here. August 31st, 2020. God, he was asking for a lot of money then. Deebs, everybody missed you a lot. Did you feel missed? Did you feel the energy of us pining? We were pining for you. Did you feel it, Deebs? Did you feel us pining? Anyway, so I don't know what he's asking for in this one. Y'all just watched it. Fill me in. He asks for money for something. August 2021. So Keegi gets arrested. Keegan Klein. Okay, interesting. Why is she standing like this? Like a fucking centaur.
So what? Right, none of the figures, just, right. What line item they're out of or what have you.
So what is kind of like the bigger argument that we normally recall us having about, you think you should be able to spend it, and we say, no.
Well, so what I think the big argument for me last year was that the State Board of Accounts said you can't budget any more than $30,000 in that account, because that's all you brought in for the year before. Where my argument was, yes, that's all we brought in the year before, but we started the year with monies in there already. We started the year with, I think, 25,000 in there.
So really, if you include what I bring in for the year plus what we had in from the carryover year, it was about 50 or 60,000 that I could have spent. But I was only allotted what we were to bring in for that year. So I think I was only allotted for this year for 29,000, even though we started the year with, I think, 25,000. And so then I brought in, and so we've got 50,000 essentially in there, but we can't spend 20,000 of it. We have to ask for an additional, right. So I'm paying new tickets this year, all those cases going on. Do use it for starting October 18th, and we have 2 more after that. We do use it for when the officers, they want to do training, like we did a training this year. We did a multi-county training for the Reed School, which is a school that it for when the officers, they want to do training, like we did a training this year. We did a multi-county training for the Reed School, which is a school that teaches officers how to do a multi-county training for the Reed School, which is a school that teaches officers how to question suspects and witnesses effectively.
Teaches officers, I have food in my mouth, I'm sorry. Teaches officers how to question suspects and what? What did he say there?
And officers how to question suspects and witnesses effectively.
So effective, in fact, is the Reed School technique at questioning suspects and witnesses. In what universe did the Reed School intend on being utilized to question witnesses? In what universe is the Reed technique appropriate, period, let alone in what universe is the Reed technique appropriate when questioning witnesses? Remember what Rick Allen was when they questioned him the very first time. He was a witness. Remember what he was when they first started questioning him again in October 13th, 2022? As far as he knew, he was just a witness. How quickly did Rick Allen turn from witness to suspect? Not that it worked. Their Reed technique didn't work. But the fact that he outright says that we're gonna train our officers to use the Reed technique on suspects and witnesses to question them effectively. What's effectively mean? You mean questioning them into confessing or pleading to something they didn't do? Violating their rights? Doing a coercion onto them?
And trial starting October 18th, and we have 2 more after that. We do use it for when the officers, they want to do training, like we did a training this year. We did a multi-county training for the Reed School, which is a school that teaches officers how to question suspects and witnesses effectively. And
that's not a thing.
Like when we have to back up our file.
That's not a thing. We're not supposed to be using the Reed technique on witnesses. That's insane.
A lot of stuff.
And he just says it outright, and everyone in the county in the meeting's like, oh, yeah. Sounds really great. Sounds like a really good use of our funds.
Electronic now. And so we have to back those up to make sure we don't lose those. So
we got to back everything up and make sure we don't lose it, he says in 2021. 4 years after Steve Mullins deletes all the evidence and then Nick makes him his prosecutor investigator. Hello?
So we can pay for that over there too. So white category. You got to pay them for their time, unfortunately. So.
I'm with Steven is here on this. I have never seen Nick to be charismatic. I just haven't. I mean, I'm trying to think. There was a moment, one moment, when it might have been Russ McQuaid. Somebody asked Nick during the sentencing press conference, post-sentencing press conference, hey, what did Jen Auger confront you and get up in your face about after trial? And he says, I'm just going to keep that to myself, right? That was the only moment I've ever seen anything less than smarmy, nasty sliminess from Nick. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, he's not going to say what Jen said because he's a pussy and she got in his face. So I take that back. I've never seen Nick McClellan be charming or have any charisma. I just haven't. So I don't know what that's about.
And Nick, I have a question for you.
Sure.
He's really not charismatic unless you're into weird manipulative douchebags. So, all right, August 2021. Remember, this meeting is taking place in August 2021. Okay, we remember.
We've talked about this a couple times, but I wanted to get my head wrapped around it a little bit better. In the event, or when the Abby and Libby murder trial starts, you've said previously, I think, $1 million for that trial. Is that accurate?
I can't really, that's just kind of a ballpark because it depends on what the evidence shows, whether it's going to be a death penalty case or life without parole case. On death penalty cases,
starts. You've said previously, I think, $1 million for that trial. Is that accurate?
I can't really, that's just kind of a ballpark because it depends on what the evidence shows, whether it's going to be a death penalty case or life without parole case.
Okay, August 2021. We're already talking about cost of trial, right? If I didn't know any better, I would guess that they've got their sights set on a Kagan, and a Kagan adjacent arrest. Yeah. Right? That's what I'm feeling like. I think the commissioners brought it up. He just wanted a Barbie, and now they're all serious about costs. And he's like, I don't know how much it costs, between 10 grand and 90 grand. Somewhere in that ballpark.
On death penalty cases, that is the estimate. They're $1 million a trial. They take 2 defense attorneys. On the defense side, they're required to have 2 attorneys. So those are expensive. You only have attorneys that are death penalty certified. You're going to be hard pressed to find those around here. You're probably going to have to go.
Don't worry, you'll find one, and then you'll try and destroy him.
Indianapolis. You're talking Abby and Libby, the amount of the sheer volume of evidence and tips that we've got, the defense attorneys have to go through that. And that's hours and hours and hours and hours of work. I probably will have to ask for hire additional staff to go through all that stuff as well. Don't know how long the trial is going to last. Don't know how many defendants we're going to have.
Don't know how long the trial is going to last. Don't know how many defendants we're going to have. You don't know how many defendants you're going to have, Nick? That's weird. Why would you assume it's more than one in August 2021? Oh, so you did think that there was more than one person involved?
There's just so many unknowns. The amount of the sheer volume of evidence and tips that we've got, the defense attorneys have to go through that. And that's hours and hours and hours and hours of work. I probably will have to ask for hire additional staff to go through all that stuff as well. Don't know how long the trial is going to last. Don't know how many defendants we're going to have. There's just so many unknowns. I don't know, but I know that Clinton County, they just filed the death penalty, and they're concerned they're going to have enough money to pay for that case. And so it's hard for me to say how much it's going to be because we don't have any arrests. But I anticipate it cost.
Is he or is he not speaking of the? Oh my God, Boone. Hold on. Boone! Yeah. We got in the trash, y'all. We did a trash dig. Is he or is he not discussing the trial and the case as if it's solved? They just don't have any arrests yet. We don't know how many defendants we're gonna have. We don't know how many we haven't made any arrests yet. Well, have you solved it yet, motherfucker? Hello? Yeah. He's a little bandit.
Costing a lot of money to try that case.
Is that also the anticipation for the 404?
Yes. Depending on what evidence.
He don't give a fuck about the floor 4, all right? Oh, mention their brand new jail, ribbon cutting with Liggett, March 8th, 2025. Is everybody ready? Oh, wait, it already happened. Never mind. Did anybody attend? Old Yeller, my love, did you attend? I hope. That seems scary. I hope you didn't. I'm sure you didn't. I wouldn't have. They'd have thrown me in behind that ribbon had I gone. What is this dude's definition of the word is? Unknowns and knowns and unknowns. He's talking like they're going to trial ASAP. Yeah, well, that's why I wanted to do this. Hello? This to me, I don't know when they decided that Kagan was going to be the thing but they were starting to get real serious. They were getting serious about solving this thing, closing this thing in January 2020. And then they got real serious in April 2020. And then they got real serious in June. And then in August, they arrest him. And then for a year, what are they doing for a year while the Miami County prosecutor is preparing to prosecute Kagan for all of his CSAM charges? What are they doing? Other than soliciting help from, we'll get into that in a minute.
This comes out. Now, I can't tell you that's going to be a death penalty case or an LWOP case. I don't know that. If, knowingly, intentionally commits murder, premeditated, those are the kind of things to consider whether or not to pass for the death.
It bothers me. Is this live stream the response to my response to your audio message? Yes. Yes. Obviously. It bothers me to no end that they're constantly refusing to categorize the Flora fire as an intentional quadruple homicide. We don't think they did it on purpose, knowingly and intentionally. Wait a second. To me, that just sounds like a felony murder. What does it matter if it was knowing and intentional? Felony murder, same fucking thing in Indiana, right? What do you fucking care?
Penalty or not, but it also, you may have, say you have 5 defendants, 5 people working in concert together. You got 5 different trials. That's the problem we have now with the murder in Florida that we're currently trying. We've arrested 3 people.
What if the county comes out and they can't afford to put these trials on? What happens?
Well, that's never happened.
Thank you, Shooby Dooby. That's what I'm saying. How do you know? How do you know if it's intentional or not if you don't fucking know who did it? How do you know? You must know who did it. Why are we talking about your hypothetical trial instead of an investigation? Because they stopped thinking about an actual investigation probably sometime in January 2020. They started thinking about closing it.
Again, I don't know every trial that's happened in the state of Indiana. To my knowledge, I've never heard a county say you can't prosecute this guy because we don't have the money. So I don't know. They find it somewhere. But they're not cheap. They're tough. I'm not excited about doing 3 trials all on the same thing, but that's part of it.
I'm not excited about prosecuting 3 defendants for the same murder, but it's part of the job. Like, do you hear yourself? You sound like a sociopath. You don't have to say every fucking thing that comes to your mind. You don't have to, every single thought that just pops into that plugged fucking head of yours. You don't have to let slip out your flapping mouth. You just really don't have to. Oh, how cute the ends of his hair are curling. Ew! I really like this Grace Face. This is why Grace Face is at the top of my payroll. Why are we talking about your hypothetical trial instead of talking about an investigation? You dipshit. This is because all of this is a game. This is a game. The Delphi murder investigation is a facade. It's a farce. It's a game. It's a fucking game. It never either. And now I'm not convinced that I don't think they think Rick's innocent, by the way. I don't think they've even considered it because they don't care. They don't care. They're not interested. I think you're right too, Miku. I mean, they really were like gung-ho, just full send. The defense get fair in these files. It's their policy to keep all the records. Investigations involve the FBI. He's still fleshing out the final screenplay. Yep. You'll love that starter mullet. L.
And they're each probably gonna last 2 to 3 weeks each trial. Which means I'm out of commission in my office for 2 or 3 weeks prior to the trial and then during the trial. And if there's conviction, you can expect an appeal.
You sure as fuck can. You sure as fuck can.
So right now, 2022 is going to be hectic for us.
And that
It sure as fuck is.
appeal would cost the same amount as the first trial.
Well, I can't answer that. I can't answer that.
I would just think that there would be less evidence to go through on an appeal.
I don't do appeals, so I'm not real sure. I know they're very.
But
Yeah.
does the appeal come to the county or does it go to the appellate court and then we're out of that?
I think the public defender bill for that comes to the county.
Yeah. Which I assume that $1 million figure that you're talking about is assuming public defenders.
Correct. I think a lot of that money is going to be in attorney's fees to represent the defendant or defendants. And again, maybe that's just kind of a ballpark.
Defendant or defendants. They are so convinced that they are going to arrest a Klein and or Klein adjacent CSAM. This is going to be a internet-based Kagan Klein involved Lord multiple defendant trial. That's what they're convinced of at this point.
Estimate. I have no idea.
What did they do from the time that they identified and then arrested Kagan Klein in August 2020 until the Anthony Schatz ISP bedsheet announcement in the middle of the night with Jeremy Pierce cowboy hat? What did they do for a year? What did they do for a year? I'm serious. I don't remember. I mean, no, I don't. What did they do for a year? Literally, it's like a black hole from August 2020 to December 2021. I don't remember what they were doing. Does anybody? Were they doing anything for the Delphi murder investigation? We heard nothing for that year.
What the evidence is going to show and what's going to happen.
Yeah, and just for the councils, I mean, we have 2 of these things sitting here.
We have 2 of these things sitting here. Not to do a semantic, but we have 2 of these things sitting here. You mean multiple victim child homicides that are unsolved? Yeah, you sure do.
4 murders in Abby and Libby. So, I mean, I don't know what you would quantify that as, like an unfunded liability. If people want to know why we keep healthy balances in our general fund, that's.
People want to know why we keep healthy balances in our general fund. It's so that we can fund the trials for all of the homicides of children that we have occur in our county, and so that we can fund all the dead children justice.
Why? Because at any given moment we could have a $2 million liability become due for those.
Dissociating.
That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's the Abby and Libby and the 4 murders in Flora.
Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, and
really good job.
I mean, plus I have the murder. I don't know, this murder we have in Florida now, this obviously just happened in June, and now we're coming up with the first one in trial, October 18th, I believe is going to be the date. I'm unsure what it's going to cost, so I may be back in front of you asking for an additional for that, because I don't know. we're not asking for life without parole or death penalty on that case. But it's a murder, and there's 3 different defendants, and there's a lot of evidence, obviously, and so.
Yeah, so this Flora case he's talking about here with the 3 defendants was the murder of Willie Smith. He was the gentleman that was killed in Flora. He was lured via like a dating app, kind of like dating hookup app, went to meet up with somebody and they killed him. And a lot of problems with that case, a lot of problems with how Nick prosecuted that case, but yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
That might be a good gauge to see where we're at. So.
Oh, but the Jennifer Dean trial will be a good gauge to see where we're at and how much it costs. And maybe even it'll be a good gauge to see if we can convince a jury that a felony murder charge, like, can we get a jury to buy a felony murder charge? Let's try it. Let's gauge it with Jennifer Dean.
Of course, not as much evidence in this one as Abby Libby. Abby Libby, you got to think let's say we caught him now, you're talking, 4 years of evidence. And so just the sheer volume of that it's a bunch.
Well, they were talking about the relocation of the ground this morning and like 9 file cabinets going.
Right.
9 filing cabinets. 9 filing cabinets.
Well, you think a defense attorney is going to want to take every lead.
This is my favorite part. I'm going to go back a minute. This is the best part of the entire meeting.
And like 9 file cabinets going.
Right. Well, you think a defense attorney is going to want to take every lead, every tip, and track that down to try to defend his client to say, okay, it may be this guy or this guy. So basically, a defense attorney is going to reinitiate that investigation from square one and redo it. I mean, that's what I would do if I was a defense attorney, right? Because you want to make sure that all the people we discounted aren't the person. And so that's why it's so expensive. Okay, thanks guys, appreciate it.
You have to think, a defense attorney is going to want to take every lead, every tip, and track that down and try and defend his client and say, okay, it could be this guy or this guy. So basically, the defense attorney is going to reinitiate the entire investigation from square one and redo it. That's what I would do if I were a defense attorney, right? Because you want to make sure that all the people that we discounted aren't the person. So that sucks. I do think that we learned some things though, right? So I could keep going on this and I think it'll get scarier and scarier. I don't believe they had any evidence, sufficient evidence, to prove that Kagan had any direct connection to. They couldn't charge him. They couldn't charge Kagan for some reason. Not for lack of trying, but they couldn't charge him for some reason. So, okay. Ready? What is Anthony Pierce? Is he a sergeant or a trooper? ISP Sergeant Pierce? Was it shots or shots? We know they're going to want to look through everything. We need a new office with all the evidence under my lock and key. Mm-hmm. All right, then what? What else are we missing? All right, so December 2021, and then we've got I don't remember exactly. Oh, wait, shit. Task force is 2 words. Is task force 2 words or 1 word? We know you're the last one to talk to her. It was bullshit. If they really did, yeah, I agree with you, Steve. And there's quite simply no evidence to support that. If it exists somewhere, thank you, La. Thank you. If it exists somewhere, they lost it or they deleted it or they're suppressing it because there's actually no proof to support that he was the last person to talk to her. And if he was, don't you think they'd have charged his fat ass? I do. I absolutely do. Okay. We are gearing up for something here. We're asking for tips on Anthony shots. And then, oh, wait. Is murder sheet 1 word or 2 words? What is the word? One word or two words? Two words, two terms. You should bookies. Okay. Games, 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 games. Oh, yeah. And then I didn't mean to do this, Miku. I'm leaving it. Tony Liggett announces unveiled. Oh, that's funny. That's really funny. Okay. May. Oh, wait. Also April. It's cute. It's also true. Hmm. Arrest Garrett Kurtz in New Direction. Oh, right. Wasn't that 2019 Cat? April 20. Yeah. You're right. Let me add it. I do think that's relevant because I do believe that had to do with it. And they arrested him before the presser, right? Yes. I made a boo-boo. Steven would like to do a sniff and a poke around Wallet. We're going to talk about Wallet in a minute, unfortunately. Mav is not in here. Damn. I wanted to talk about my origin story. Okay. So May, June, July, August. When did the Wabash Clam Jam start? August. Well, I got my first hit piece on August 8th. And I believe it was what, the 18th-ish? And then September. You know, I do think well, actually, maybe not. You're right, Majesta. You're absolutely right. Let's see, 2019, if we scroll up. Kurtz. The Kurtz family, meaning Mark and Garrett are terrifying to me. I mean, personally, I find them to be very scary for a lot of reasons. Where is my stupid timeline? Maybe it doesn't exist. Oh, yes. I love when I find things I'm looking for. The FBI was asked to leave in so Ferenczi was killed in July, right? Oh, I found it. I don't know if this is like helpful or not, but so September 2021 was crazy. So Tony, what was it? Announces, unveils, Miku. Unveils, announces. He's running for sheriff. All of his buddies are supporting him. Huge success. But as many of you know, my Facebook account was, yet again, hacked. Damn, Tony. Whatever the hacker did, it's not fixable. There goes my sheriff page. Didn't Mickey Steins do a similar antic? The commissioners sign a multi-year lease. So this was actually September, 26th, 2021. Tony Lickett. Who's in your chats, Tobe? Tony. The Clausen. The commissioners. Nothing was ratified. Although Lesenby advised Monday that one or two commissioners, no names given, walked through the building the Monday prior. Nobody explained how the location was approved or how the lease was developed. Pearson complained that the council members were not upfront with the communications about the matter. He thinks there was some shady dealings went on about this new location. You don't say. Commissioner Brown asked Lesenby if the county should hire a fresh set of eyes for the double homicide investigation. Have y'all seen this interaction? It's wild. He asked if this is something the commissioners should pursue. Well, we did have public funded agencies from the outside coming on board. While the input's useful, that kind of input should really be directed by the investigators working the case, not by the commissioners. Don't you ever think about suggesting something so ridiculous and insulting ever again. 2022. Wowza. Anthony Liggett files for candidacy for sheriff. 2 deputies are killed. Well, a jailer and a deputy are killed speeding in a single car crash, pursuing a suspect helping another county in a pursuit on icy roads. Horribly fucking tragic. Horribly tragic. ISP and Carroll County are still like really into like vehicle pursuits, which most modern law enforcement agencies across the country have basically banned, unless there's like an imminent, the risk of not pursuing and whatever, stopping the fleeing suspect like outweighs the risk. You're not supposed to do that. We literally have drones and shit. We don't need to be pursuing in high-speed vehicle chases. But apparently ISP and Carroll County still do this, and rightfully so. Oftentimes, these types of pursuits result in injury, destruction, and or death. Weird. March 2022. The Indiana State Police request the FBI remove the height and weight from the description of the bridge guy. What's missing? Height, weight, and age. The request to remove the info came from ISP. The Delphi Task Force requested the FBI remove the physical descriptors listed on the flyer. Weird. That's not suspicious. Tony Liggett was asked on Facebook, can you explain why the height and weight have been disappeared from the flyer looking for the person that took Abby and Libby's lives? I'm not sure about the disappearing part of your question. If it's disappeared, it shouldn't have been there to start with. What? What do you mean? What do you mean? If it disappeared, then clearly it's because it shouldn't have been there at all. 10-4. When that sketch was released, the height and weight was not released. Okay, so you're... Okay, so... Okay. That's an FBI flyer. My best answer is above. If they change the flyer, you should contact them. You should contact them and ask them directly. I will, but I'll also talk to them. Yeah, I'm gonna call. Let me call up the FBI. The FBI that we literally shit canned contentiously a year and a bit ago. Okay, call them up, bruh. I don't know why it seems that way. Best I can tell you is it wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. We did not put out a description with the second sketch. They finally got it corrected. The FBI did. You see. That's why, as above, I referred you to contact them. We do absolutely talk. As I previously stated, it was not supposed to be there to begin with. Absolutely. Keep looking. As I said, it wasn't supposed to be there. It's been corrected. We don't want people not sending tips in based on that description. Focus on the sketch, the bridge picture, and the voice. Focus on the sketch. I thought the sketches were just an investigatory tool. They weren't intended to... Well, so are the sketches relevant or not? You're telling the public to focus on the sketch. But you eliminated the sketches out of trial, motherfucker. So, what's up? What's up, Tony? Tell me lies, tell me sweet little... Oh, wait, no, that wasn't this one. This was the Mike Thomas debate and the Lee Horde debate, where he said, with all due respect to Tony Liggett and all due respect to Kevin Hammond, you two boys were not equipped to handle that investigation. And Tony's like, yeah, I know, but you know, what you can do about it. Only focus on how the sketch walks. What's up, Tony? Primary election is May 3rd. It will be Tuesday, May 3rd. The only candidates on the ballot will be of that particular political party. April 15th. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What is this? These are the fruits of a villain origin story, my friends. Why is the Carroll County Sheriff's Department purchasing advertisements? Weird. That is so weird. But don't worry, y'all. When the website was contacted, their reasoning for this was that it was just a algorithm issue. This was just an algorithm issue on the website. Never mind the fact that the advertiser has to fill out their contact info. Otherwise, this would be blank. Okay. They said, ma'am, let's hope you're real dumb. April 15th, yet again. I did an email. I did an inquire. Uh-oh. I did a Karen. File an official complaint with your county election board. So I did. Hi, Miss Milburn. Hi, Mr. McClelland. My name's Angela. You don't know me yet. I love my dogs 312. I was encouraged to contact you by the Attorney General and the State Board of Accounts. I reached out to the county election board already. Thank you. Hey, Mr. McClelland, I hope you're doing well. I just want to inform you that the documents that I originally sent to you and your clerk and nobody else have apparently been leaked to a local Facebook group and were just sent to me. Please confirm receipt of this email. Mr. McClelland, you have a leaky office. You don't know me yet, but you're gonna soon. Nick has leak problems. What's the date on this? April 2022. Interesting. He's a Nick McLeakin. Nick McLeakin. Hey, this is Joe Paul. The clerk's office informed me your email was used to send a complaint. Could you please let me know who you are and if you're available to talk? And I did. I contacted him. I said, give me a call. The bitch never called. Pussy. Hey, Angela. I did receive your email and attachments. I just finished an 8-day jury trial last night at 7 p.m. That's Jennifer Deniel. Just finished. Heck of a trial. I did review the documents. Given the fact that I work with several people involved, literally all of them, I'm going to forward this to a special prosecutor to see if any violations have been committed. That'll take away any issues of conflicts because he's really concerned about conflicts. Thanks for hours. I didn't even notice this. I appreciate you forwarding this to me. I've directed my staff to start the paperwork today. Does anyone believe him? What do you think I said? I think I believed him back then. I was like, oh my God. Isn't it so funny that the day, 2, 3, so I submit this, right? I submit my election violations, a complaint to the county on the 24th. On the 29th, the election board develops a complaint policy. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to do a rehash. I didn't mean to do a rehash, but like, this is just funny. All complaints must be made in writing, and you must provide the full name and the address of the person filing the complaint. And it has to be signed, sworn, and notarized, meaning that the notary certificate must state that the complaint was signed and sworn before me, or must indicate the complaint affirmed the complaint under penalty of perjury. Too bad I already got it in. Already got it in before your policy. Nice try. This is what they do. It's a game. Everything is a game. It's all a sleight of hand. It's all just fuckery, 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 fuckery. Straight up, what the fuck? All right, so here's everything that happened in April in terms of looking into the very legitimate, documented, proven 10 times over, both federal Hatch Act and local and state violations of election campaign finance laws. So everybody who says that this was a witch hunt and that we just felt like suing somebody, back in the good old days, they used to be able to railroad people without these nosy crank bitches. Literally. Yes, there is. I have one. I made one. It's really good. We'll watch it in a minute, Majesta. Where's the movie where the magician had to keep killing himself? The Prestige, right? Isn't that it? The Prestige. Oh my God, Ghost in the Machine. I forgot about that movie. That's such a good movie. It's got Hugh Jackman and the fellow Christian Bale. Am I thinking of the right one? Johansson. Yes. Oh, that's literally them. What did Nick Starro say? It's a shit tactic to lie to help, like, to try and get an investigation going, because once you start, you have to keep lying. You can't ever stop lying. I have it on DVD. We watch it when the power goes out. Judgy, that's so nice. I want to watch The Prestige with Judgy when the power goes out, when the ceiling power goes out. Wouldn't that be a fun activity for the cranks? Anyway. Diener's up to fuckery. Primary election for sheriff. It's fascinating. They get sued. A lot of stuff happens. They act like Will Ferrell in the campaign. I've never seen that movie. I do like Will Ferrell, though, even though I just mispronounced his name. Let's go to, when did things really start happening? Here we go. The Warbash. I thought I had a different. So we were ordered to pay $10,000 in attorney fees for our administrative complaint. Here's the debate. So Liggett, I thought, what does he find the tip? The 21st? I watched The Prestige twice. It's good. It's really good. I really like everyone in that movie. Yeah, why not Railroad Run Logan? Fucking losers. Fucking losers. Kathy found the tip on the 21st. And what did they say? Holy cow. This might be it. Who's the other guy? She was only 16 years old. What's his name? From Batman? Help. She was only 16. What's his name? Fuck. Put holy cow in quotes. You couldn't railroad somebody who sucks? Michael Caine. Thank you, Matt Hawk. No, Judgy. Alfred, yes. My cocaine. That's what Nick McClellan says. My cocaine. George Clooney. Y'all. Okay. Enough of that. Let's talk about games. So my theory, basically, I don't know if it's a theory or if it's just a thought. So does everybody in here, at least for the most part, like, is it fair to say that Nick and the task force were banking on a Klein resolution to the murders, right? That feels fair. Yep. Okay. So why couldn't they and didn't they arrest him? I'm going to. How do I do this? Oh, share. We can stipulate to that. So for whatever reason, they couldn't and didn't charge Kagan with the murders. And they really, really wanted to. And they were really banking on something coming from that Wabash clam jam, right? But it didn't. I think they learned something very a couple things. I think they learned a couple really important things from their failure to connect Kagan to the crime and their inability to arrest and charge and hold him in connection with the Delphi murders. I think that they learned, well, for starters, it's really helpful if you can keep the guy from having an attorney, because Kagan had an attorney, a good attorney, the same attorney that Ron Logan had when he was under investigation for the murders, Andrew Aki. He seemingly did his job, and Kagan was never like charged or held in connection with the murders themselves. The other thing I think they probably realized was, man, it's a hell of a lot easier if we arrest somebody in our county, because then I'm the prosecutor. I don't have to deal with any Sinkovitz or, you know, any, I don't really have to worry about anybody yet. We can just keep it all in-house. Wouldn't it be great if we could find somebody from here and then we're in charge and we have full control, and we can do whatever we want. We don't have to worry about going through another attorney and worrying about him having an attorney, because we'll just keep him from having an attorney. We'll book him under an alias, in fact. And wouldn't it be great if he was a nobody? So this is, we're not going to watch this, but I do want to watch the intro because it's one of my favorite intros I've ever made. It's really good. And then I'm going to send it because somebody asked to watch it. Oh, motherfucker.
Okay, are we ready to go?
So this is the April 7th, 2022 primary debate. And then this one's good too. Looney snoring.
What would you do as sheriff to help get justice and closure for the unsolved double homicides?
We're doing things. It's not new. I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room. I don't have all those years of experience. There are a dime a dozen retired guys out there that we've talked to that want to come and help.
So what would you do? What would you change? What would you make happen to try to solve this?
I would continue the path we're on. We're on a good path.
Have y'all seen the Choo Choo Crime Tube debate recap from right after the tip was found? Yep, you're right, Majestic. So in the primary election for sheriff, Lee Ward, who was the sheriff years and years ago, who was also the mayor of Delphi, ran, as did Mike Thomas. You gotta laugh something didn't watch. So this might actually be interesting, given that we're doing a timeline. Snookered. Shookered. This is, do we have like 4.5, 5 minutes in us? Yeah, we do. What we do? What am I at? There's 102 of us in here doing a yap. 102. Love every single one of you. Share screen. So the tip was found September 21st, 2022, okay? Keep that in our noggins.
If I could turn the page, the time that I'd be just a page.
Will the double homicide investigation change?
Change in what manner? That is a top priority case. Things are very positive. I'll leave it at that. Things are very positive right now. Nothing would change. We bring people in. We have help. Things are going well.
I have also worked on the case. From the very beginning, I wanted to be involved today. A team that was ready to go was told to contact another agency to get the go ahead. We finally did. I didn't get there until day 4. I pledged to do everything that I can to make that better.
The core of the general core of this investigation group would stay.
There is a team that is ready at any given point to assist. His knowledge of the case is important, but he'll have some help.
So there's a team someplace?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a detective first. Have a high profile case we're working hard on every day. I can make all kinds of suggestions and do those things. It's still out of my hands. I've done that. Y'all just talked about all the guys that are back at me, have created that culture. For me, we have that culture. They want to work hard. They want to do that for me.
But shouldn't they want to do that for the citizens of the county? Use them for you, so that's why I just want to make sure that people understand it's not about search, it's about right.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, oh no, you can't disguise.
Several months ago, we got contacted by a retired West Lafayette police detective. Said he had someone that needed to be checked out that had been brought to his attention regarding the Delphi Road. Wanted to know if I had anybody to get hold of. I said, sure. 2 weeks later, this West Lafayette detective contacted me back and he said, nobody's ever contacted me.
You guys all clap on the good old boy thing. I feel like I wrote the good old boy nonsense. I'm not from here.
You said no, the lie detector test determined that was a lie.
And now I'm standing up here, one of the primary for the Republican Party to be the sheriff of Carroll County. I broke that mold. There's no good old boy. I'm not the good old boy.
Mark, you have said over and over that there's help. They're waiting to help us. Are you still willing to help our county? And are you willing to accept help for our county?
The time that I'd be just a page.
You were saying there were groups waiting to help. Are those groups still willing to help? if you're not sharing?
Yes, the groups I'm speaking about have been turned down for help.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, oh no, you can't disguise.
We're all good boys. All of us are good boys.
Flashback.
There's no good boy. I'm not the good boy.
12 seconds later.
We're all good boys. All of us are good boys. We will help in whatever way we need. And
You said that help has been refused. Why?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There have been agencies that have offered help, TBI for one of them, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. They have wanted to help. And they have.
So I have a pretty high profile case that I'm working on. I'm the only detective now. I'm the only detective now. I'm the only detective now. I do the best that I can.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies. Tell me lies, oh no, you can't disguise. Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
I don't know, y'all. So, trigger warning. Segue. What do you do all day, gentlemen? Thank you, Terry. Hi, Terry. Good to see you. Let's get him. The one retired TBI agent, the Megan Boswell case is cool. I don't know about that one. Justice for Chooch, I know. Been doing a wall of trauma. We sure I. So I tweeted something earlier that I'm just going to read because I don't feel like rehashing it, and I'm just going to do a read. I'm just going to do a read, not a read technique, but a read. Tell me lies, tell me. No, it's in the description, Fiend Sauce. Weird Cat, Travel Buddy, it's in the description. Let's talk about Dr. Walla. Try. I wish the other guy would have said, you got that right when Tony Liggett said he wasn't the smartest guy in the room. That's okay. We're here to say it for him. Dr. Monica Walla had an unhealthy obsession with the Delphi murders and consequently with her pretrial defendant, Richard Allen. Should we get some mood lighting going? How about this? I'm going to turn off. Here's what we're going to do, y'all. We're going to do a read technique and we're going to do a mood lighting. Oh yeah. Now we're talking. So let's talk about Dr. Walla, shall we? Dr. Walla Halla. All right. Dr. Monica Walla had an unhealthy obsession with the Delphi murders and consequently with her pretrial patient, Richard Allen. Dr. Walla decided that Rick was guilty from the moment he was assigned to her care. And she treated him as such from day one. Does anyone disagree with that? Dr. Walla violated HIPAA laws, IDOC policies, and her own professional standards and code of ethics by communicating with investigators, state actors, and members of the public about her patient's private and protected medical and mental health information and treatment. Dr. Walla deputized herself, colluding and conspiring with the state and investigators to aid them in the 24/7 surveillance and psychological control and coercion of pretrial defendant. She did a deputize, y'all. She did a self-deputize. I don't know how to get this to stop doing this. It's because I keep banging into it. I keep knocking into it. I keep knocking it and clunking it and bonking it. Okay, so time to get comfy before we get uncomfy. Dr. Walla deputized herself. She sure did. She never acted with Rick's dignity, health, and safety or well-being in mind. On the contrary, she falsified, backdated, and lied in her clinical notes. She taunted and provoked Rick, often using her position of trust and authority to elicit privileged info from him about his case and his conversations with his attorneys. Walla. That's not nice. That's not good. That's not cool. Dr. Walla spoke of Rick disparagingly and with contempt and mistrust in her clinical notes. She directly supported, fostered, and facilitated his coerced confessions. Rick suffered drastic emotional, physical, and psychological deterioration at Westville, including multiple life-threatening man-down events. Man-down events is when basically your body collapses and your systems and your organs start to fucking shut down, and like your heart almost stops. It's a serious life-threatening thing. And the prolonged use of emergent involuntary injections, Haldol. Rick Allen lost 24% of his body weight in a period of 3 months while he was at Westville. He was 130 pounds at one point. Dr. Walla, however, characterized Rick's legitimate, severe, and worsening condition and his psychotic symptoms as feigning and manipulation for secondary gain, despite the fact that Dr. Walla never once issued a single standardized measure or evaluation tool to assess Rick for malingering, which is why she changed her testimony to feigning during trial, because malingering is a diagnosis. It's a medical clinical term that you can only assign to a patient or person after you properly and thoroughly and competently and in good faith assess for it. And it's not just you give a test and it's one and done. It's really a serious fucking thing to label somebody as malingering when you're involuntarily injecting them with Haldol at the same time. Dr. Walla sat in on and listened to privileged phone calls between Rick and his attorneys. She used psychological tactics like gaslighting and projection to confuse and disorient her vulnerable and fragile patient. She was subtly feeding into his paranoia, and she was planting ideas in his head for months about the trustworthiness and the intentions of his attorneys. Does that surprise anybody here? The very first and seemingly singular mention of wanting to plead guilty but attorneys won't let him came right from Dr. Walla's notes. Nowhere else is that said. Dr. Wallace stalked Richard Allen. On January 11th, 2024, Dr. Walla made the 4-hour trek to Wabash to visit Rick, unprompted, and to this day, for no clear reason. Nobody knows why. Wanted to. Dr. Walla positioned herself as a savior. Quote, the only one who helped Rick, end quote. That's a Dr. Walla quote about Dr. Walla. Walla's own delusion and grandiosity spilled into and perverted every facet of her care and interactions with Rick throughout the entirety of his detention. Dr. Walla was the most integral ingredient in the coerced false confessions, prolonged physical and psychological torture, and ultimately in the wrongful conviction of an innocent man. Dr. Walla made it happen. Thank you, Kathy Shank. Well said. It's not a thing that people do. While Rick was in the throes of excruciating psychosis, gravely disabled and critically ill, still proclaiming his innocence, Dr. Walla provided him handouts on acceptance and a book about the Holocaust. Dr. Walla is no Clarice Starling. Dr. Walla is Hannibal fucking Lecter. Joseph Mengele, Fatal Attraction Girl, interrupted. Dr. Walla is a motherfucking cop. At one point, Dr. Walla says that Rick was ingratiating himself towards the writer. She's the writer. Ingratiating. Ingratiating is a word that's often seen in the context of symptoms and presentation of personality disorders, which is cute, considering Dr. Walla mislabels Rick's psychotic symptoms as malingering and throws words like narcissistic and inauthentic around constantly, without, of course, ever administering a single standardized measure tool to assess for personality disorder or any other disorder or mental illness. I think she made this case for entire personality and life. Yep. Sure did. Sure did. I agree with this, Old Yeller. Anyone that's been abused by Ron Logan should have been interviewed. 100%. Rejection much? She felt very important. She felt very important. I bet the Dr. Walla talks about herself in the third person, like Greyfingers. Yeah. Yup. Okay. Ugh. I see you're going through some shit. Want to learn about Hitler? Yeah. So it's interesting because Dr. Wallace starts giving Rick handouts on acceptance around the same time they really start amping up their efforts to get him to confess. Rick's proclaiming his innocence, and what Walla characterizes as perceived injustice. Perceived injustice. Gave him handouts on acceptance. We're going to find this interview. We're going to find it. You know we will. If anyone can find it, we're going to find it, Mama. Don't you even worry. Walla's like Dr. Buffalo Bill. She doesn't have the Lecter personality, which reaches out to people. Dr. Walla, please go to the fucking hospital and get your goddamn head examined. Where did we leave off yesterday? Should we talk about all of the times that Rick proclaimed his innocence while he was incarcerated? Get your goddamn head examined. She was stressed. So Dr. Walla was 100% coordinating and communicating with the lead investigators, investigating Rick, investigating him after they already had him arrested. Something is wrong with you. She also gave him pamphlets on sleep hygiene after he had been awake for 8 days. So they did not approve Rick's Seroquel when he got to the Department of Correction, which is very interesting to me. It's interesting that they just abruptly discontinue an antipsychotic medication that helps sleep, and he stops sleeping and experiences psychosis. Wow. So when Dr. John and the prosecutor are talking about the demeanor of the bridge guy and how the demeanor was consistent, and that means that it was Rick Allen, I want to talk about Rick's demeanor. So after Rick is booked into DOC, he's observed and reported as being very timid, does not exhibit any signs of agitation, very respectful, mostly reserved. Yes, Majesta. While they're yelling at and insinuating things to him, Dr. Wall is giving him reading materials that could exacerbate his delusions. 1,000%. Mr. Allen is quiet, very still, taking in his environment. He said, quote, "It's been a long day." That was November 4th. Been a long day. Quiet, reserved, depressed look during brief conversations. Adjusting his suicide smock because it doesn't even cover his fucking genitals. They've got him sitting in this fucking smock, just sitting. Like he has to meet his psychologist while he's wearing a suicide smock. Talk about power and control and power dynamics. Just saying. You want to completely break a person? Nudity is a really good way to do it. Strip them of literally everything, including their clothes. Just saying. Mr. Allen was respectful and had a soft demeanor. There's your demeanor, Nick. Fucking loser. He was calm, quiet, respectful. He's put on suicide watch and literally the first time she ever meets him, she's like, cluster B personality traits were not able to be determined. Why are you even cluster B? You're a what are you talking about? Do you know how many times I've diagnosed somebody with a cluster B personality type after years of working with them? I haven't. I don't. I won't. I just won't. I'm going to do everything else first. Why are we starting at cluster B? Because that's what they look for. That's literally what they look for. They just look for personality disorders. Everyone's a narcissist. Everyone's antisocial. Everybody is malingering. Everybody's doing something for secondary gain. It's like, The other thing I realized is that when Rick went into DOC custody, he did have a pack and a half of nicotine a day. So he was a smoker. They just, what do we think that they were giving him? Gum? Patches? No. So that's another cold turkey discontinuation of nicotine. Has anyone had to quit smoking before? It's like the hardest thing ever. It's really hard. Mr. Allen demonstrated helplessness, sporadic intermittent sleep, decreased appetite, fears of getting killed while in prison. There were observable verbal shouts and comments from other inmates. This is as early as November 7th. Dr. Walla and Dr. Marmon diagnosed a man with narcissism for asking for an antidepressant. Mr. Allen is observed sitting on his bed, head bent, looking down. Yeah, what else is he going to do? You have him in a hole. You just put him in a hole. When asked about, he refused to come out for session. He didn't want to talk to the crazy bitch. Confused about who he should speak to in order to obtain a public defender. Confused about who he should speak to in order to obtain a public defender. November 10th, 2022. Dr. Waller recommended that Rick not speak to anybody about his case, except for his attorney. He doesn't have one, Walla. He just told you that. Stupid bitch. Quote, this is Rick. This is another astute observation. Everything is a psychological game in order to tear me down. When asked to explain, he said, the shit they shout repeatedly at night, being away from my family, being away from everything I know. Unit team manager telling him things. They have things for him, but then not telling him what they are. He appeared to be making negative assumptions about innocuous interactions. No, he's calling out what's happening astutely and accurately, and you're gaslighting him. Give me a lawyer, let me explain. It was wonderful to hear his wife's voice, but painful. He only cared about her, didn't care about himself. Yeah, I've been to IDOC before. They don't give you anything but fluoxetine for everything considered mental health. Even if you say it doesn't work, they just make it a higher dose and say try. Yep, this is true. And they've been sued for this, and it doesn't. They just keep doing it. It's awful. Ugh. Feeling broken, trying to hang on, consumed with missing his wife and family. Hoped he'd see them again. He thought about how much they loved him, how much they were hurting. He became tearful. My wife has always been my rock. I do everything I can for her. I try not to say things that will hurt her. It's been 2 weeks and I'm a broken man. November 10th. It's been 2 weeks and I am a broken man. Talking to his family is too painful. Not talking to his family is too painful. He appeared to strongly believe that he will be killed in prison, which is why he's not coming out for recreation. He was on meds when he went in, and they discontinued some of them, including his Seroquel, which is an antipsychotic, and it's used for sleep a lot. And yeah. An officer came into Mr. Allen's room and took his tablet. Mr. Allen appeared confused by this. He did not respond verbally, but he was compliant. Why are they taking his tablet? The 14th of November. He's been there for almost 2 weeks now. Mr. Allen reports that they are playing, quote, psychological games with him, end quote. They're giving him vague, inconsistent responses concerning routine procedures, sporadic sleeping, not sleeping, persistent depression, constant screaming at night. He requested a smaller jumpsuit as he needed to roll up his pant legs to walk. His cell is neat. He engages in self-care, eating, drinking, zoned out. Minimal engagement with his companions. They're not supposed to be fucking talking to him at all. The 16th, ongoing struggle being away from his wife. It could be worse, at least of not being beaten or tortured. Dr. Walla discussed accepting one's circumstances, even if one did not like it. They took his meds, they took his clothes, they took his water. He feels like his life is over regarding legal circumstances. One day I'm living a normal life. The next day, me and my family is being destroyed, and I can't do anything to help them. Fears of not being able to keep his house. The best case scenario is that I'll get to see my family again, but that feels forever away because his trial was scheduled for March 2023. Why the motherfuck does Dr. Walla, Dr. Monica Walla, who's not supposed to know shit about fuck when it comes to his case, she's putting in her clinical notes that his trial is in March 2023. This is November 16th. They hadn't even set, okay, backdate. They hadn't even set his trial November 16th, 2022, when this clinical note is allegedly from. And she says, no, I'm wrong. Wait, no, I'm not. They set his trial for March, right? March 9th. Okay, I lied. Never mind. So they set his trial March 20th, 2023. She still shouldn't know this. Like she should, I mean, he must have told her. Love you 2V. Okay. Fine. I still think she's backdating shit though. Like, why does she know? I guess he probably told her that. Yeah, because he would have known that. Okay. Never mind. False alarm. All right. Back to what I was saying. Him. Refusing nursing assessments, refusing. Quote, he seems like a normal person to me, seems very stable. That's a companion log. Seems normal to me, seems very stable. Mr. Allen states he had a court hearing soon. He did not appear to have strong feelings about the hearing, which would discuss if the probable cause affidavit would be unsealed. Why the fuck do you know that? Why the fuck is that in your notes? You fucking weirdo. He discussed that he felt like he was being treated as if he had already been found guilty. I told the investigators I didn't do it. I'll never be okay with being in prison for something I didn't do. He can't do much except for wait to defend himself. I hope whatever evidence they have is factual evidence. I express concern about something other than the truth impacting the outcome. I don't care what they have. It ain't me. Not even close to proper clinical notes. I don't know what the fuck these are, but they look like true crime fan fiction, backdated after the fact, fake bullshit, invented. Where's your written notes, Walla? The ones you fucking shred. He reported that he ignored his peers and did not engage with them. You mean the suicide companions that are not supposed to be talking to him? 100% eagle eye. These are all false. All of them are falsified. sad about being away from his family. He was trying to be strong until the next hearing in February. Why did she know? Why does she have so much knowledge about the hearings and the legal happenings of his case? Appeared reconciled to his situation. I don't fucking think so. Worried about how his wife was handling the high-profile case. She had to move out of their house. He expected they would lose the house. I mean, they're dated, but I don't know. I don't have them. So I'm not reading from them. I don't think that we'll ever have them because they were sealed. I wonder why, much like the transcript of Wallace's testimony won't be released. Married for 31 years. Emotionally dependent on his wife. No legal history. No history of drug abuse. Presentation. Unremarkable, mood sad. Shared his thoughts on potential bond. No, he didn't. He anticipated letters from his mother, requesting new books and crossword puzzles. So he starts to really deteriorate in the beginning of December, about 30 days into solitary, which makes sense. Mr. Allen reports he did not get out of bed today until 11. Best case scenario, I'll be found innocent and I get to go home. I'm an innocent man being treated like a convicted criminal. He felt investigators wanted him to take blame for the murders. Quote, justice will prevail, end quote. He said that he was being psychologically abused in ways he shouldn't be. Dr. Walla reminded him that some paranoia while in prison is normal. He reported struggling with limited contact with the outside world. January. Didn't the warden say that Rick was offered a TV and he rejected it or declined? Because here he is in January asking for one, and asking for reading glasses, asking for a haircut, asking to wash his sheets, asking for a higher bed, a desk, a cell where he can charge his tablet on his own. He wants an in-person visit, which hadn't been granted yet. It's been months since he's seen his wife. The soles of his shoes are wearing out from pacing in his cell, but he wants to wait to see if he gets transferred before he requests new ones. He would have court the following week, says Walla. He had fears about his trial. He has fears and concerns that factors outside the truth will impact the outcome. Walla asks him how he feels about his upcoming court date in February. This is supposed to be the bail-out hearing, right? He says, they move me where they want to move me. I'm just a piece of a game. So we read some of this last night. I'm going to fast forward. So I want to talk about around the time that Rick stabilizes. So Dr. Polly Westcott does this, what was it? She did like their own psychological evaluation, neuropsych eval, right, on Rick. And she came and testified in court about it. So she does that in April 2023, right? I mean, August 2023. And August 7th, Dr. Walla asks Rick how his meeting with his attorneys and how his meeting with the outside psychologist went. Started crying. I miss Kathy. I miss Kathy. I miss my mom. I miss my family. I want to live just to see my wife and family. I'm afraid to contact my wife. I don't know if I have my tablet anymore. He didn't know the date. Rick no longer knew how to use his tablet. Verbalized missing his wife and mother, desiring to see them. Rick is afraid he's going to die and he won't be able to say goodbye to them. He wasn't able to further verbalize why. I want to see my family. I want to see my family. When asked if his family attended his last court appearance, bitch, go get help. Go to the doctor. Go to therapy. Go to the fucking hospital. Get your fucking brain examined. This woman is sick. He wanted to speak with his family. He was encouraged to reach out to them and call. He was agreeable to making a call during a session with his lead psychologist. He learned his cat died. He made a comment about feeling confused. When asked to clarify, he said everything about this place. Nothing seems real. I don't really know how to function. I think God and my wife are with me, helping me. He had no memory of the last 3 months. He stated he felt like he'd woken up from a coma. He said he did not know why he was in Westville, claiming, I don't know what I did, He asked why he didn't have shoelaces. He was confused. I just want to be with my family. He couldn't focus on anything. He couldn't focus on reading. He asked for a box that he could use like a desk, a cardboard box. Why can't I see my wife? Why can't I see my wife? The clinician attempted to review his past week and asked him about his attorney's visits. Claimed he was experiencing memory losses. I'm losing time here. I don't remember from January or February. He expressed paranoid ideation, thinking that the psychiatrist and other people around him didn't like him and wanted him to die. Other inmates were spitting at his cell door. I don't want to be in prison. I want to be with my family. I'm not a dangerous person. I want to go outside. I want to go to church. I want to be around my wife. I'm going to fast forward a little bit. He appeared satisfied that his window was fixed, and now he had a box that acts like a desk. I don't belong here because I don't. I'm not an evil person. I want to go home. I don't belong here. I don't belong here. He was finally given reading glasses in September of 2023. That's almost a fucking year after he's been there. God will bring me back to my family. I'm surprised I survived as long as I did. He mentioned, quote, I know I don't belong here. People are saying, kill yourself, Richard Allen, kill yourself, anytime he exits his cell. He's losing time. Quote, something has been done to me here. He said he remembers being injected and drugged, and he said that this was done to, quote, get him to confess. He says he's not the same anymore. And he questions if other people are trying to fry his mind. Reported inconsistent interactions with the nurse and feels like they may be playing games with him. Mr. Allen was seen for a wellness check after court. Isn't it funny that Dr. Walla always makes a point to meet with him right before and right after his hearings or meetings with his attorneys or phone calls with his attorneys? Seen for a wellness check after court. So ready? 10/18/2023. They discussed his court date. All he wanted was to quote, catch a glimpse of his wife and mom. That's all he wanted. 10/19 is when Judge Gohl shit-canned his attorneys. But then the next day, she sees him the day after, the day before and the day after. He reported he was told his attorneys were fired. He had to comfort his wife. He was in tears. I don't want to be away from my family any longer. I want to be with my wife. He felt the judge was not looking out for him. He felt like he had already been sentenced. He felt the need to let go of his wife so that she and his mom could move on. He once again expressed struggling to remember the 4 months, April through August. He said, quote, I already confessed and I don't even remember. Mr. Allen is experiencing tremors. He refused to come out for appointment. He showed the clinician his tablet, which was not responding. Mr. Allen showed his tablet, said it was now working, and made a comment that he thought his tablet was possibly being controlled by somebody else. He expressed dissatisfaction about his attorneys being removed, commenting, quote, they're setting up to convict me. He believed that they wanted to execute him. He had an in-person visit with his wife scheduled, and his father was approved to come visit. This is November, y'all. I'm ready to go home. He complained about not being able to retain information when he read, including when reading the Bible. He suggested that the clinician, Dr. Walla, should start reading the Bible and then said, quote, I'll pray for you. Mr. Allen's stress-induced psychosis was remitted after a few weeks. Nice try, Walla. Nice try. He subsequently exhibited vegetative symptoms of depression. Well, then his fucking stress-induced psychosis has not remitted if he's now vegetative. What? Fucking A. Why are we backdating our dates? We're writing these notes in November 2023, and we're talking about June. Why are we backdating our notes 6 fucking months? Rick Allen asked about Thanksgiving. He wanted to go home. He wanted to see his family. He began to cry. November 28th. When asked if he wanted to come out of his cell, he did not reply. He looked up at the clinician, continued to cry, made attempts to use his tablet, cried harder when it would not work. He finally shared the belief that his tablet was being controlled by others and that they were messing with it on purpose. Your tablet's ringing. Your tablet's ringing. Your wife's calling. Your tablet's ringing, Rick. He said that his wife was having difficulty setting up an in-person visit, although his parents were recently approved. This isn't fair to my family. I'm not even supposed to be here. Rick starts to lose his mind again December 1st, by the way. His presentation changed drastically. He described feeling like he's being tortured. He didn't trust anyone. He verbalized feeling like he's being drugged. He thinks that his coffee is being tampered with. He remembers injections, and he says he doesn't want this again. He said the drugs could have made him say things that were untrue. He felt he had already been condemned. He wishes God would just let him die because, quote, this is torture. December 4th, remember, he's transferred to Wabash on the 6th in the middle of the night without anybody being told why. He asks, am I still alive? Is this hell? He can't keep track of time. Do what you want with me, leave my family alone. He missed reading books. He really wanted to trust the clinician, but he actually really wanted to see a doctor outside of IDOC. I don't think I'll make it to October. I've already been sentenced. I'm not dangerous. I'm not violent. Officers noted that Rick began acting oddly again on November 30th, rambling nonsense, asking to speak to mental health, screaming help. Where am I? Who are you? While being escorted from his cell, a lot of noise could be heard from inmates shouting loudly at him. He was seen turning his head, looking at various cells. During his escort, he repeatedly turned his head around, despite officers telling him to keep his head straight forward. He was paranoid, ambivalent about sharing information. His presentation, when his tablet started malfunctioning, had been increasingly odd. It was unclear what reasons were behind his change. They're fucking with him again. They're fucking with him again. Then they transfer him. He was afraid he wouldn't be able to say goodbye to his family before he died. He requested to have the Bible that his wife gave him. He requested to... He did not appear oriented to time and was confused about whether or not he had been to trial yet. He refused to be seen for nursing, and he refused to sign the refusal form. I'm not signing anything. Crying, 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 singing loudly, talking to himself. I'm not signing anything. He wanted to see his family. He was more talkative but more irritable today. He spoke at length about how he felt he was being treated worse than convicted criminals. He was an innocent person being treated poorly, he said. He said. He said they were purposefully keeping him from having visits, forcing him into restricted housing. He said that he had lost over 3 month time period. He blamed involuntary medication that he was forced to take. He said they're, quote, pumping me full of drugs. That's the reason I'm breaking down. He referred to his time as torturous and said someone will pay for how they've treated me. He made a suggestion that the clinician was unaware of the perceived injustices in his treatment. He said he could not speak further because he knows that phone calls are being recorded and his sessions are being documented. He was told he could perhaps journal instead and then rip up the pages or flush them down the toilet. Rick suggested that even his waste in the toilet was gone through for evidence. He was reassured it was highly unlikely that they would go through his waste. I don't know. It's weird that Dr. Walla comes to visit him on January 11th, isn't it? It's April. Has Kathy seen him since trial? I don't know the answer to that. I don't believe that she has seen him in person. Perceived mistreatment, perceived injustice. It's just a game. I'm just a piece of the game. Probably like hundreds of times he proclaimed his innocence. I agree with this. I'm gonna try and find a Dr. Polly clip. Oh, here it is. This is the last thing I want to show. I think it's important. I just don't know why. Like, we don't know why yet. I mean, we know why, but I just feel like it's going to be important. Or it should have been important.
He made in a stunning turn of events in the Delphi murders trial. A scheduled public hearing in the case was abruptly canceled. ITMate's Cody Fisher was there and explains what happened.
Judge Gohl ordered the first part of the hearing to be behind closed doors. No reporters and nobody from the public allowed. After a brief recess, we were supposed to be allowed into the courtroom for the second half of the hearing. But after 35 minutes, a Carroll County Sheriff deputy came out into the hallway and said there would be no public hearing today, and that is all he could tell us. Moments later, Prosecutor McClellan came out and went into a room with the families of Abby Williams and Libby German. Richard Allen's attorney, Bradley Rosie, came out next and took Allen's family away to tell them what happened behind closed doors. When asked what happened, Rosie said nothing. This morning, the defense filed a motion that would shorten the length of time the Indiana Department of Corrections and the Indiana Attorney General can take to respond to their requests for documents. They're making that request so that both sides can have enough time to review those documents before the trial in October. The prosecution also filed a motion to prevent the defense from interviewing third-party suspects under oath that the defense team says is responsible for the murders. They claim that that testimony is not relevant. It would not prove Richard Allen's innocence. Because reporters were not allowed in the courtroom, we have no idea if those motions were talked about in court. Everyone involved in this case is under a Richard Allen interviewing third-party suspects under oath that the defense team says is responsible for the murders. They claim that that testimony is not relevant. It would not prove Richard Allen's innocence. Because reporters were not allowed in the courtroom, we have no idea if those...
Wow, y'all, look at that demeanor. Look at that hostile,
motions were
walking with purpose, mean demeanor.
They claim that
as he gets out of the car, all 5'4" maybe of him, and fucking smiles at the deputy.
Testimony is not relevant. It would not prove Richard Allen's innocence. Because reporters were not allowed in the courtroom, we have no idea if those motions were talked about in court. Everyone involved in this case is under a gag order from the judge, so they legally cannot talk about the case. So right now, it's unclear if we'll ever find out what happened in Carroll County Court today.
I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know. Heinous or evil? The only mistake to blame. Oh, no, it's just my opinion. Don't hate me. Nobody here would hate you for feeling that way. There were a lot of mistakes, I think. I don't know where my Dr. Polly video is. I wanted to show her walking in because she's cute. She cute. That's all. Looks like a nice man. They did everything to prevent him from having a viable defense. Wait, maybe this is the one. There she is. Ha ha ha. Found it. Found it. And then we're going to go to sleep. I guess we'll never know. Fiend says, fuck off. I love when Fiend gets bad. Dr. Polyamorous. That's my kind of Polly. Oh my gosh, where is she? Here she is.
After Richard Allen was arrested. Our Samantha Johnson is in Delphi tonight and breaks down some disturbing video played in court today and conflicting testimony the jurors now have to analyze.
We heard crucial testimony for the defense inside the Carroll County Courthouse on Monday. We heard more about Richard Allen's mental state while he's been in prison, as well as firsthand accounts from his family here in Delphi. First to take the stand Monday, a neuropsychologist, Dr. Polly Westcott, who says she met with Allen in prison to do a series of psychological exams. And after
That's a very appropriate, lovely outfit to testify in a court hearing.
After reviewing those exams at the courthouse on Monday, we heard more about Richard Allen's mental state while he's been in prison, as well as firsthand accounts from his family here in Delphi. First to take the stand Monday, a neuropsychologist, Dr. Polly Westcott, who says she met with Allen in prison to do a series of psychological exams. And after reviewing those exams, prison videos, phone calls, and medical reports, she determined Allen suffered from major depressive disorder and psychosis when he confessed to killing the girls. She also determined he wasn't faking or exaggerating his mental health, and that contradicts the most damaging evidence against Allen so far, his recorded phone call confessions to killing Abby Williams and Libby German in February of 2017. On Monday, videos played just for the jury of Allen inside his prison cell, eating his own feces and banging his head against the wall. The defense trying to prove Allen's mental health was deteriorating and driving him to make those false confessions. The state claiming the videos were used to get sympathy from the jury.
Fuck you, Nick McClellan. That was the day that Max Baker got on the stand, hashtag baby daddy, and said, "You didn't want to show him either, motherfucker." Anyway. Irish goodbye, shall we? Okay, love you, bye.